Meeting. This is a regular board meeting. Ms. Jelinski, can you please call roll?
Yes, good evening. Okay, Mrs. Carrero.
Here.
Mrs. Gandhi.
Here.
Mr. Hyatt is not here. Mrs. Jankowski.
Here.
Mr. Lalanski.
Here.
Dr. Miskowitz, no. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Belomo. Here. And Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm just going to point out a few first items on our agenda. First, this meeting is being held pursuant to the Sunshine Law, our Open Public Meetings Act. So notice for this meeting has been posted to the Marlboro Township website. The second statement would be the statement of videotaping. There's of the public portion of this education of our Board of Education meeting. So please note that the meetings will be videotaped and they are available for viewing on our website. And then lastly, we have two public comment opportunities during our meeting today, one at the beginning and one toward the end. And since we are holding our meeting on school grounds, our policy for no smoking or vaping on school grounds, including inside as well as outside our school grounds. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to begin our meeting this evening with a moment of silence. It is with great sadness that we actually have to recognize the passing of a valued member of our school community, Annie D'Ambrose. Ms. D'Ambrose began her service in 2003 as the secretary of Marlboro Middle School, and then in this building at the time as a newly opened Marlboro Memorial Middle School. Her many years of dedication, her kindness and service touched countless lives, and she will be deeply missed. And we extend our sincere condolences to her family, her loved ones, and to the school community that she has touched over the many years that she served here. So please, just a moment of silence on behalf of Ms. D'Ambrose. Thank you, everyone. We'll can begin with our agenda. First item up for tonight is announcements. Mr. Balone.
Good evening. Thank you. I do have a few announcements. For starters, parent forms in Genesis were released on August 10th. Each school ensures that each parent reviews and signs off on the forms. So if you have any trouble doing so, please contact your child's school. The Marlboro Police Department, they run their annual Police Youth Academy, and they held their graduation on Friday, August 7th. I would like to thank the Marlboro Township Police Department, not only for keeping us safe here, but also teaching our students and kind of, giving them the experience that they had over the summer months to give them a little taste of what law enforcement is like. So it's a good learning opportunity for our students. And finally, schools are absolutely ready for reopening. You can see this school. You could eat off the floor in here and every one of our school buildings. You could smell the gym. It smells brand new. Every single one of our schools looks like this. And thank you to our custodial staff for taking care and working diligently this summer. We are welcome. We're looking forward to welcoming students on the 3rd, and they will be attending our school district in a clean, safe environment. So looking forward to that.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Balone.
You're welcome.
And you're right. The schools do look spectacular, and we can smell the gym from here. So it is a true indication of we are ready. So thank you for that, and thank you to the building teams who have done this across the district to get our schools ready this year. School bus driver and building maintenance abstracts?
Yes, all abstracts were run for all district personnel, and everybody has privileges in good standing.
Great. Thank you very much. We are going to begin with our first presentation for tonight, Access for ELL's Testing Performance. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Members of the board, fellow administrators, and parents and community members, and those watching online. My name is Kimberly Georges. I'm the supervisor of ESL for the district, as well as the very, very proud principal of Robertsville Elementary. Tonight, I'm going to report out on our Access for L's testing results. All of our ESL, or also I'll use the word ML, which is multilingual learner, take the Access for L's test every year, and so each year I report out on those results. But before I do, I'd just like to give you a brief overview of the ESL program. We identify ESL students by the parents when they fill out a registration form. We give them a home language survey, and if we see anything other than English listed on the registration form, we do screen them. Also, if we see a student has come in from another district and we see that they have, they had ESL there, we will automatically add them to our rolls if they were in one of the WIDA states, and I would say probably like 40 of the states nationwide participate in WIDA. If they don't, then we will rescreen them just to make sure that they are to our standards, whether they need ESL or not. Students are screened using the WIDA model, and parents are notified through mail and through email of the results, and they do have the right to refuse services. So if a parent is not comfortable and doesn't want their child enrolled in the program, they do have that right to do that, but we will still test them each year. So our ESL program is aligned to the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, the WIDA Can-Do descriptors, and the WIDA English Language Development Standards, as well as aligned to the MTPS Content Area Curriculum Guides in ELA, Social Studies, Science, and Math. The students in grades K through 5 receive ESL instruction 30 minutes per day, and the ESL teacher will work with the classroom teacher to ensure that the student has the supports they need to thrive in the general ed classroom. Students in 6 through 8 receive an ESL class, an extra period of general support, and if the schedule allows, they will also have the teacher push in. So this year, the students took the Access for L's. At the beginning of the 25-26 school year, 125 students were identified as MLs. 104 were enrolled in the ESL program, and 21 students did not receive services as the parents declined services. Speaking of decline, our population of ESL students is on the decline. If you look at the chart, we peaked in the 22-23 school year with 195 ESL students. As you can see through the years, it has declined since then. Last year, we began with 125 students. We will be starting this school year, not including any kindergarten students that have been screened over the summer, we'll be starting with 77, and that's a very low number for us. So I don't expect that number to exceed 100 this year. I think that's probably a high estimate. So on to the results. So 77 of our 125 will continue to receive services for this coming year. 23 have attained proficiency and have exited the ESL program. 4 of the 4 grade 8 students will continue ESL at Colts Neck High School. And of the 21 declined students, 11 are still eligible for services, and 10 have attained proficiency and no longer eligible. Now, where they fell, so there are 6 levels. It starts 1 as entering and all the way on to 6, which is bridging/reaching. To exit the ESL program, you need to receive a score of 4.5 or higher. So looking at the 25-26 school year, you can see the majority, which is 60, are in that developing, but then we had the 16 and the 18 that actually fell above that exit score. So the language progression. Typically, ESL students will stay in the program for 3 academic school years, and that is on pace with our program goals. Now, of those 125, 11, however, are still in the program for more than 3 years. And of the declined students, 7 are still eligible for services after 3 years of being identified. Our language breakdown. So our biggest population of English as a second language, that language is Russian with 35%, followed by Spanish, 13% or 15 students, and Chinese is our third language, 11.5% or 13 students. And then as you can see, we have a smaller population, but there is almost a 10% speak Georgian. This has kind of stayed the same for the past few years, but Spanish is getting a little bit larger of a number. In terms of the ethnicity of our ML students, of the 125, 73 identify as white, 38 as Asian, and 14 as Hispanic. Of economically disadvantaged, of those 125, on the free and reduced lunch application, 80 were denied, 40 received reduced lunch, and 5 were marked as free. Of those 125, we have 16 students that had a disability, 7 of which a communication impairment, 7 of a specific learning disability, 1 listed other health impairment, and 1 student listed under the autism category. Our ESL across the district. So just as we saw 60 of those students fell within the 3, you'll see our biggest number is in 3rd grade. If you look at the bottom row, is 20, which would make sense. If they started either in kindergarten or 1st grade, by grade 3 is where we're going to see either they're going to continue or their exit. So that's why in grades 4 and 5, you'll see the number goes lower. And then as we get into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, those numbers are typically students that have come to the district after kindergarten, and sometimes, you know, maybe in 3rd or 4th grade. So it might take them a little longer to acquire English, but the bulk of our students this year are in 3rd grade. And that's about it. So any questions or anything I need to clarify? Yes.
The students that refuse after they qualify, I think if I understand, you said that they are still given the WIDA test year after year.
They are.
So why continue to WIDA test them if they are opted out of services? Do the parents know that they're still tested each year?
Absolutely.
Can they opt out of the WIDA test?
Yes, they can.
So they opt out of services, but they don't opt out of the WIDA test?
Correct. I would say this year, I believe only 2 fully refused to be tested.
And then when you do your comparisons, like you take your data and do your spreadsheets, you might have mentioned this, are those students, even though they're not getting services, are they still counted in a lot of the data as whether they're improving or not?
I break it down so that the ESL teachers can see it, because they are still eligible. Even if an ESL student does not receive services, they are eligible for the accommodations for testing. So when we do our state testing, they can get a dictionary if they need, they can get extra time, they can get a small group. So they are eligible for services. We've just seen, we do keep them, we keep them on a spreadsheet in terms of like how they're performing, but really our only measure is how they do on the access test.
And then the reason for, do they give a reason for refusal? I'm just curious. Is it like they don't want them to miss class time? Or is there a reason the parents give for refusing services?
So one parent that refused testing, the student, it was more like a family circumstance. Okay. We don't offer ESL at the middle school. We only offer it here. So the parent was living with a family that was zoned for middle who did not need ESL services. And even though we offered to come and test them at the school, I guess maybe the parent felt uncomfortable because it would be a stranger coming in and testing their child for 4 days.
Okay.
So they just weren't comfortable with it.
So you don't notice like a pattern of like of why the service is like, oh, no, I don't want them to miss class
No,
then.
and it's
Okay.
so rare. I mean, we
Yeah,
do
right.
notify them, you know, the ESL teacher in the past has said, I understand that you don't want your child pulled because you don't want them pulled out of some of their academic areas, but let us at least kind of gauge where they are so that you can make informed decisions up to the things you might want to do with them in the summer, whether it's getting them a tutor, trying to find some programs that can reinforce the language at home if you don't want them, you know, being pulled out of class.
That follow-up is wonderful,
Okay.
that they're doing on top of.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
First of all, thank you so much for this beautiful presentation. I love data. I tell them all the time, I am a data person. So I love seeing, well, the data. I can understand it.
Good.
This way. So thank you so much for that. And thank you to all of our teachers, because people don't, you don't see the ESL teachers out there, the parent, unless you have a student like that. And so here, people don't really realize how important that additional help is for each of these children. It really, so thank you to you and your
Absolutely.
staff.
Yes,
Now,
thank you.
you mentioned that parents get letters about the denial or they're going to be in.
Uh-huh.
How many, you have them in the different languages and they send it out that way? 'Cause
So-
it's not in English.
It is in
Oh, it
English.
is in English.
But what we have is the translate button right there, so they know they can translate it right
Okay.
away. So even the permission slip itself, it will say like, translate in your language. So they
Perfect.
understand what they're signing up for. And thank you so much for the compliment, because the ESL teachers really do work super
Yeah,
hard.
They do. They do.
In the beginning of the year, they give each teacher a folder, and in that folder, they hand to the student, which is all picture cards, so that, I mean, I could just put myself in the place of a child that can't speak any English. I mean, if they need to use the facility, if they're not feeling well, like all those things. So we make sure they have picture cards so they can point to what it is until they become familiar with just the common everyday language. So they really do a lot behind the scenes.
Yes.
And over the past couple of years, we've been able to build up a supply of communicators. So we just have handheld translators that the teacher can use. We have them in the main office. I've given them to the nurses. Administrators have them so that we can always communicate with the parents. Sometimes we don't want the child trying to translate, so we have a means to communicate them, and it's pretty seamless.
Super. That's super. And just one last question. How many ESL teachers do we have?
So right now, we have 4.
So they go to multiple schools.
We have a teacher that splits her time between Robertsville and Asher, that's Mrs. Zimbaldi. We have Jen Grogan, and she splits her time between DeFino and Marlboro Elementary. We have Vanessa Toma, who is Dugan and Marlboro Elementary. And then we have a teacher here that will be taking the ESL students.
Okay. Super. Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Like I said, I really loved the presentation. It was great. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you very much. Anyone else?
Ms. Palomo?
Good evening, and just to reiterate, thank you for the presentation. I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
For MMS, what is the reason that we don't have an ESL program there?
We found over the years that the students that register in that zone typically are English speakers. So where the students were coming from were zoned for here. So when we have that one off that might register over at middle, it would cost a lot of money to try to, we can't just hire a teacher and have her, teach one student. And it's a lot on the ESL teacher to try to mix in a third school in that mix. So we found it to be more cost effective to just transport that child to Memorial.
So if a child is, just from the numbers that you had put up, and I understand those are for this year, it does look like Dugan, who is zoned for MMS, has one of the higher numbers
Yes.
of ELL students. So after a student completes, however many years at their home school, the theory is that it's more beneficial just only because of budget reason to transport them to a different school than the children they've been with for those years?
Well, it's never really been that many. If, let's say at the end of this year, we see that the majority are zoned for middle, I think then we would have to go back and look at, for scheduling purposes, does it make sense then that we just keep them in their home schools and see if we can split the teacher?
And approximately how many children are being transported?
For this year, we have no sixth graders that need to be transported due to not being zoned here.
Okay, so just trying to understand the numbers. If those students, so it does look like there's a pretty good amount of students that are ELL students in Dugan, Asher, and Mar-El. Our analysis is being done on those programs to see why children are able to kind of be done with the program after 5th grade, as opposed to the other schools that are transferring very high numbers over to Memorial, like 17 to 20 students,
So
whatever it was.
I think what has been happening, I can, off the top of my head, for the past 2 years, I'm sorry, 3 years. For the past 3 years, we've only had one student enrolled at middle that they scored enough to qualify for ESL, but it was like at a 4 was the screening level. So they did make the decision to opt out of the program. Those 5th and 6th graders, or I should say 5th, because that would be that mark, typically, if they need to go to the middle school and still continue to receive services, most likely it's because they didn't start here. And so they just entered in. If it turned out where we had 7 Dugan students, I think it would make more sense, looking at our numbers right now, to then have the ESL teacher go to middle. Like, I wouldn't want to put undue stress on a family that's already established ties in the community, and then to have, like, the students be denied, like, going to middle school with their peer, you know, to meet a whole new friend group. I don't find that fair, and I would never want to do that to a kid.
Thank you. And then just additionally, with the new, all the new housing coming into Marlboro, do you have projections as to how that will affect these numbers? Are you expecting there to be a spike mid-year of students that will need services?
You know, we've had a lot of developments, it looks like, open up, and based on our registrations, we're not seeing what we used to see. We would see come July, even this week, we would get flooded in registrations, but it doesn't look like that community is an attraction for people that are coming over, you know, new to the country.
Okay.
So it's almost like, it seems like where Robertsville is zoned, we tend to get a population from a lot of the developments off of Texas Road. So I don't know if those maybe are easier, just word of mouth. I really don't know, but I haven't seen a large upswing this year at all. It keeps trending down.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Mr. Smith?
Yes, so thank you for the presentation. It was very
Absolutely.
informative. Nice work. On the number of students, because Ms. Palomo touched on it, I was going to ask, why do you see such a significant drop from 2023? It's less than half of what it used to be, and I know you said that we're not quite sure, but do you know what the statistics are in New Jersey of the number of ELL students of this grade? Is it more of a Marlboro thing, or do you think it's statewide?
It's not a Marlboro thing. I believe it's probably a climate. If I had to suspect, I think it could be, you know, political too. Maybe people are a little bit more reluctant to come to the country. You know, I think the Russia-Ukraine war, when that was happening, we saw a lot of families move in, and we're just not seeing those numbers anymore. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of Georgian people were fleeing their country. We were seeing, you know, Georgian come in, and we're just not seeing it. So either it's stabilized, or maybe people are reluctant to come to this country, and they're going to another country.
Thank you. Do you know what the averages were prior to 2020? Like, is
Well-
2023 like an anomaly, or is it more of like the average was always like 150 to 200?
When I inherited this position in, I'm looking at Mr. Malone, 2009.
Before 2012,
Right?
let's put it that way.
It was a very long time ago. 42 students,
Wow.
42. So it always kind of hovered around that number, and then it slowly crept up, But that year when I showed that, that was like numbers like we had never seen in this district before.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
Thanks to all the teachers that do a great
Absolutely,
job.
they are fabulous.
Other questions? Ms. Georges, thank you. I was going to ask a similar question that Dr. Miskowitz asked, which is, you know, communication with parents and things like that, and you answered it very well. Thank you. I appreciate that, because they are such an important part of the learning at home as well. I know you said that there's, you know, the ability for parents to press a button and translate, but there's a lot of paper material that goes home as well, that may get mailed from the district offices, or even flyers that get printed or developed that are not necessarily school developed but sent home for parents. Are there resources for the parents as well for those types of materials?
Yes, so through the Family Literacy Program, we, in the beginning of the year, notify all the families, and again, this is in their language, so it can be translated in their language. We hold an evening event, and in that evening event, we almost put the parents in their own class and show them how to log into Genesis, how to translate materials. Like, we try to give them like a crash course, and here's all the things you need to know about the Marlboro Township Public Schools, and we want to act as a resource for them so they don't feel that, you know, they're lost. A great benefit to doing that is the families are getting together. And like our last one at the end of the year, last year, like parents have become like best friends and actually feel a part of a community. Even though if their kids go to two different schools, they just feel good that they actually met somebody that's going through something similar to them. So we do as much as we can to make sure that, you know, they have the resources they need to translate materials or to stay informed.
And then just one other question, and thank you for that answer. There were 13 unique languages on your chart, on your
Yes.
pie chart. Do we have a staff person or a teacher in our district that's fluent in at least one of each of those languages? Or is their experience more based upon some of the resources and the tools that we actually purchase or use?
So unfortunately, we do not.
Okay.
You know, we always keep our ear to the ground with what teachers are fluent in which languages, so we know who we need to pull if in the event of emergency. What I do love is we look to the kids. We look to the kids. So if we see there's 3 students that speak Urdu at Robertsville, and we have a brand new Urdu student, I will call the classroom and say, could you send so-and-so down? You know, if I know that they can speak that language, I try to make sure if they can't be in class together, they're at least buddied up so they can communicate with each other. But, I mean, the good thing is that learning English, it doesn't matter what language you speak. So it's just so long as the teacher can teach is really my priority, and make sure they know how to help children develop our language.
The resilience there is incredible. It's so much
Amazing.
easier to go, you know, you're right about learning English. It's so much harder for us to learn other languages.
It absolutely is.
No, thank you for that answer, and I appreciate it. And thank you again for the excellent presentation and for the great work you're doing.
Absolutely.
With the resources and the teachers across this district.
Thank you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And, you know, you're all more than welcome to attend our family literacy events. And even if you just want to see the program in action, please don't hesitate.
That'd be great. If you can share that information with Mr. Bologna or Mr. Linsky, they
Absolutely.
can share it directly with us.
Absolutely. The more the merrier.
Thank you.
So, thank you, and have a wonderful school year, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, our next presentation is an overview of the special education program. Hello there.
I'm going to start with the extended school year.
At home, they won't hear you.
I like to walk. You're right. All right, so we're going to start with the extended school year program. I know that a lot of people had the opportunity to come and see it, which was wonderful. I just want to go through some highlights of it, some pictures. You can see the kids. There was a lot of special moments throughout the summer. The kids light up at ESY. It's one of my favorite programs to be in. I tell Allie all the time, I wish I can go back to her job and be the supervisor and run that program because it is the happiest place you could be. The kids want to be there. A lot of them feel like it's camp. We do a lot of fun activities throughout the summer. You could see Mr. Conklin comes in. He is actually a general education science teacher at middle. He comes in every summer since we started doing science, and he does science experiments with them. And they get so excited to go to his class because he just makes it so fun and engaging. And every student from preschool to 8th grade, he can somehow get involved into his experiments. I know that they did dissect a frog at some point. This was for our middle school kids, and the parents didn't know that they were dissecting the frog. Not the full frog, not the full event, but he brings that in to this classroom, and I think it's great because most of our students that attend this program are self-contained students, so they don't always get all of everything that we have to offer throughout, in the lessons in science, especially at the middle school level, because it's just higher level of science. So he does that, and every kid, I've never seen a kid that doesn't want to go to science class. Miss Kearney, so Miss Kearney is a gym teacher at Marlboro Middle. She comes in and she teaches 2 days a week during the ESY program, and the other 2 days a week she actually likes to be an instructional assistant. So to have her there, she gets to know the kids, but she's also there teaching gym. So they have that experience as well as music with Miss O'Driscoll. Come on, there we go. Miss O'Driscoll's also just a regular music teacher that we have in district. She's not specialized in special education, but she comes here every summer and she loves to be there, and she makes the classroom fun, and it's a lot of songs, and the kids get up and they dance, and I wish I had like a video of them dancing because that's pretty much what she does all the time. She plays her instruments, she lets the students play instruments, so brings a lot to ESY that I feel like not every district is able to do, which is why our program I think is really special. The Robertsville Fire Department every year for the past probably 5-6 years comes and does a water play day for us. I know that a few people were able to come and see it this summer. The lawn does get a little wet over there at Dugan, but it's the faces that they have while they're running and the fire truck is spraying a hose is something I think that everybody really kind of should experience. It brings you back to I guess like more of my childhood of being able to run outside and play in a hose. You don't really see that often anymore. So I think one of the funnest things about this day is you watch the students come out. They're very hesitant, right? They don't want to touch the water. It's spraying a little bit too hard. They're a little bit nervous. They've never seen the fire truck do that before. And they slowly start to just tap their hands in or tap their feet in or walk around to see it or just stomp around in the puddles. So it gets the students to where they're at. And we never obviously force any student to be in there. We have other toys in the background for all of our preschool students who are too overwhelmed to kind of go into that situation. But every class gets to come out. We have certain times of the day, so it's not everybody all at the same time, and we do it by age group. CPAG also, there you are, Robin. CPAG sponsored a Spirit Week to celebrate Disability Awareness Month, or Disability Pride for the month, where we dressed up and we got to acknowledge all the differences that we all have throughout everybody. Scope sponsored a visit from Goldie's ice cream truck every year. They've been coming for a couple of years now as well. This actually, I was on vacation this day, but I came in because I love this event, and I happened to walk in just at the right time. It's like, God knows when you need to be there. So a student who can't make a choice, has never made a choice, never wants to make a choice, made a choice on ice cream that day at the truck by themselves. And everybody was cheering and yelling, and it was like such a cool moment. And you're like, it's just an ice cream truck, and it's just an ice cream. And if you don't know, then you don't really realize it. But to to be there in that moment was awesome. Okay, so that's the summer. I want to thank all the staff that come to ESY. They dedicate so much of their time throughout the summer, and I know that they get paid, and I know that it's something that they want to do. But to give up so many hours of your summer, I think is such dedication. And to be honest, the staff that come to ESY are so phenomenal, and you could tell that they just love to be around students. Like, this is just what they want to do. There's never like a sad face in the building. Everybody's always happy. They're always eager to be there. They're always eager to help. If you say, okay, we're down in one classroom, can we move somebody else to another classroom to help out? They're there. So it's the staff that is there. It's just so nice to see how involved and how much they want to be there during the summer months when they're supposed to kind of have that time to reset themselves. Lastly, got to thank Ms. Mortar. I know a lot of people may not realize how much goes into building this program, but she starts in January once I tell her this is around about the budget that we've got, and she works her tail off for this program. So I have to give her a huge shout out, because without her, I don't think the program would be where it's at. We went up about 30 students this summer in the program, so it is expanding. We do have a lot of more needs in the district. And I'm just very grateful for her, and I hope that she's at least listening, or maybe not listening. Maybe she'll listen tomorrow morning. But I just want everybody to know how this program would not run without her, and that we're grateful to have her. All right, that's ESY. I'm going to move on. Does anybody have questions? Anything?
I don't have a question, but I have to applaud her too, because she knows every child. I go every day to pick up my grandson, so I see her. She knows every car that comes down that road. And having it at Dugan, that was a great place to change it to. It really is a perfect spot. Even like you said, that section where they were having the water play, it was absolutely perfect for all of for all the children. It's confined. You can block it off. The kids can run around. It's and the entire program. When my grandson goes, I hope he doesn't ever watch this, but he thinks he's at camp. So we continue saying, "Yep, you're going to, how was camp today? Great." And but every single teacher, I ended up going by myself because I couldn't make it the day that the rest of the people were coming, going to view it. But I thank you, Mary Elizabeth, and I can't say enough of how great the program is. And I've seen so many of them over the years, and it can't compare. Can't compare. That's how your group of teachers that you selected, the whole staff. It was just, and I can assure you, nobody's going to get into that building. When I went, I thought I was going to have to sign in blood. So nobody, the parents can be well assured that those children are safe when they go to that program, because they are, nobody was getting in there, believe me.
Thank you, Dr.
I had to wait for her to come up, to actually come to the door. I was not getting it. That's how good they are. So
thank you.
Thank you to all of the staff, and thank you to the security for keeping, I felt a little bit intrusive, but it was okay. I'd rather feel that. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I do have a quick question, actually two. One is, first I will comment just to pick up on Dr. Miskowitz's statement. I think the immersiveness of this program is amazing. To watch how the students are immersed into the arts, into the sciences, all the experiences is incredible for them. And, I think that's just great. And I've heard from parents whose kids go there similar feedback, especially about Mr. Conklin and the science program. I mean, people just love it, and it's such a great experience. So thank you for, working through and making sure that happens. You said something before about 30 student increase this summer. I may have missed it at the beginning, but how many students total were in the summer?
164.
And what's our capacity?
It'd be the capacity of Dugan, I would assume, but
Okay.
it would be as many students as they need it for the program. We don't really have a capacity for ESY. I base it off of what I know projections are around. You know, obviously you never know what it's going to be from January to June, what students are going to be coming in, but we have a good understanding of at least of the students that we have of who's going to be needing the program.
And the program is only offered to Marlboro students, is that correct? Or do you have outside students from different other districts also coming in?
It is only Marlboro students, except I do have tuition students for certain programs that come in. So any of the tuition students that we have in district, we also offer them the ESY program if they do need it.
So they have to be in district already as a tuition student in order to be eligible for the ESY. They can't just be a out-of-district student who wants to do the ESY program here.
I've never had that experience.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Carrera, you had, and then Ms. Jankowski.
I just have a quick comment. I also wanted to give a shout out to the administrators, like the case managers, and then the bus drivers, like how much care went into like them picking my daughter up in the morning. It's a wonderful program.
Thank you.
I thoroughly love the tour, as you know, so I appreciate you opening the doors to the board members to come in. There are many things that stuck out for me. The fact that they get specials is huge, and the fact that these special area teachers are gen ed teachers who come in to teach purely special ed. We know that they can teach special ed within the year, but they are coming in to only teach special education. And I think that's so important and valuable. And they read the IEPs and they follow the accommodations and they understand more thoroughly what accommodations and modifications are. And I think it builds relationships between colleagues. It broadens like their own teaching capabilities, and it allows the students to develop these relationships with teachers that they don't see the majority of the time. So I thought that was fantastic, and I thought that they did a great job. And the time put into the lesson planning, we saw many teachers that do themes each week, and that takes a lot of thought out work. Absolutely. They have themes each week that are built around projects that, you know, they probably go out and spend their own money on things that they do to make sure that the theme is, that it's their own theme. You know, tornadoes this week, I think a teacher did like earthquakes the following week, and she came and she told us all about it. Like, she had her lesson plans like that, like this is what I'm doing, and she was so excited. And I was really deeply impressed by the thought out nature for a summer program. But I think what impressed me most of all was the students who receive a specialized reading program during the year received it during the summer. And that is really huge. And you can look at it as a board member that we pay for training, and it's a lot of money to pay to train teachers in Project Read and Orton Gillingham. And they work very diligently on that because it's a very scripted, specialized program. So we're seeing this turnaround on our investment that it's used all year long. So as a board member, as a community member, as a taxpayer, just in itself, the fact that these programs that we're investing in, you are making sure they're carried over all year long. And for the students who are receiving this specialized program, like it builds. So when you stop in June, and then you may not see it again into September, and they were on like lesson 18 in June, and then the teacher might have to go backwards to lesson 12 as a refresh. This is kind of ensuring that there's no loss, like there's no regression. So I was watching these teachers one-on-one doing it, and it's like they were seamless. So I really, and I said to Ms. Sturcio, I really can't wait to see the impact that following through on their specialized reading program is doing on their reading level. Like, I really can't wait to see that. And they were excited to be there, and they were only coming for the specialized program. Mm-hmm. So the fact that these students were getting out of bed to come to work on their reading, it's just wonderful. So I give you a lot of credit. I said it to you privately. I want to say it to you publicly, that to me was just, it made my heart soar to see these students so invested in their own reading. So thank you.
Thank you.
The Special Ed Committee loves you, right?
Any other comments or questions on the ESY?
I just kind of wanted to echo everything. The tour was fantastic. I know I sent you an email that said all of that. And then just on a little sidebar too, I thought it was really impressive. I guess we didn't have our recognition awards, but if we did, aside from all of you who put the program on, I thought it was incredible how fast the turnover was at Dugan. It's like having house guests, I'm sure, for the entire summer. And they were back up and running, so to the buildings and grounds and custodial and building staff, that was really impressive. I don't know how you turn it around so fast and get ready for the new school year. But again, the program was excellent, way different than what I thought it would look like, but all in positive ways, so.
Thanks. All right, you ready for the second part? Okay. So special education programs. Allie couldn't be here today, so you just got me. So in district, we have the preschool. I know we've talked about the preschool a lot. We have the integrated preschool. We have the preschool disabled program, and then we have a preschool classroom that really specifically is more ABA, autism instruction. Each of those levels, we have 3 classrooms of each, which is 9 classrooms at the Early Learning Center. We have Resource Center, which we have in-class resource from kindergarten through 8th grade, as well as pull-out resource from 1st to 8th grade. We have LLD classrooms from kindergarten to 8th grade. That is a self-contained classroom. We have multiply disabled classrooms from kindergarten to 8th grade. We have autism classrooms from kindergarten to 8th grade, and we have the emotional regulation impairment program from kindergarten to 8th grade. I know we've talked about the ERI program probably ad nauseum. So the preschool programs, like I said, the 3 preschool programs are preschool disabled program. Really it's a self-contained program, so it's just special education students in that classroom, really just doing foundational skills, getting them ready for, school, kindergarten readiness. That's our goal. So there's 1 teacher, and depending on the number of students that we have in the classroom, there's 1 or 2 instructional assistants. We have 3 of those classrooms, like I said. The preschool disabilities, the ABA classroom, it is also a self-contained classroom. There's less students in that classroom, and it's highly individualized, and it's focusing on the pre-foundational skills as well. Instructional support in that classroom is typically either in a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 ratio. And again, there's three classes at Abbott. And the integrated class, we have students with IEPs and general education students who come through the lottery. There are 2 teachers providing instruction during academic times, as well as an instructional assistant who is in the classroom the entire day. And we have 3 classes of those at the Early Learning Center.
It changed.
You're good.
It did change.
So in-class resource, that's the general education classroom. It's co-taught by a general education teacher as well as a special education teacher. It includes students with and without IEPs. All students follow the MTPS curriculum and PACE, and it's offered from kindergarten through 8th grade. Pull-out resource, it's a special education classroom. There are no general education peers during instructional time in this class. Small group instruction and additional support at a modified pace. All students follow the modified curriculum and pace of their grade level. So that is, we try and modify down to as best as we can to meet their needs within their grade standards, and that is offered in 1 through 8th grade, 1st through 8th grade. The LLD program, so this is an intensive program to further develop foundational skills with a multisensory approach to learning with individual interventions. There is a focus on academics with small group instruction, partner work, as well as one-to-one interventions. Dugan has our K through 5 LLD classes. There are 5 classes there this year. We did not have a need for the additional classroom because we did not have a single 3rd grade class. We didn't have enough students to make up that classroom. So our 3rd grader is in another class. So we have a kindergarten standalone LLD, a 1st grade standalone, a 2nd grade standalone, a 3-4 standalone, and a 5 standalone. The reason we kind of went to this model at Dugan was really making sure that the students are following everything that their general education peers are following. So schedule-wise, being able to get into the related arts with their peers, being able to lunch and recess, and when you had multi-grades, which we had for a really long time, they weren't able to follow the specific schedule that their peers were following. So this to us was huge to be able to do this. We also did this in the middle school as well, so Marlboro Middle looks a little different because it's not one teacher all day long. There's multiple teachers teaching their content areas for LLD, but it is still a self-contained class. That at Marlboro Middle, we also have a 6th, a 7th, and an 8th grade class. For a very long time, it was mixed grade levels, but we have separated it again so that they can follow the schedule of their peers. The MD program, Defino Central and Marlboro Middle hold the MD program. It's an intensive program to further develop foundational skills with multi-sensory approach to learning, functional academics with individualized interventions, and improve executive functioning skills. They focus really on functional academics as well, fostering independence, and more individualized goals. So this is kind of now breaking away from so much of that core following the grade level standards and more really towards their individual goals. Defino has 3 classrooms. There is a K1, a 2-3, and a 4-5. There's one teacher that leads the instruction, and there's instructional assistants depending on the number of students and the ratio that's in their IEPs. Depends on how many instructional assistants are in the classroom. But this year we have anywhere from 3 to 5 instructional assistants in the classroom. And that's at Defino. Marlboro Middle, 1 teacher. Again, there's a instructional support. This one has 4 instructional assistants this year. They really do focus on functional academic skills to get the students ready to be a little bit more independent. And this class does span 6th through 8th grade, and students do join their peers throughout the day. Our autism program is at Robertsville Elementary and Marlboro Middle. It's an intensive program using a multisensory and ABA-based approach to develop functional academics, communication, executive functioning, and independence. A lot of our interventions and instructions are done either in 1-to-1, 2-to-1, or 3-to-1 ratios. It's not as like in the MD program where it's small group instruction pretty much most of the day. This is a lot more intensive teaching. Robertsville has 3 classes. We have a K1, a 2-3, and a 4-5. And Marlboro Middle, very similar to the MD program, has a 6 through 8. It is a very intensive program as well, and it's more functional life skills. Our ERI program, so Marlboro Elementary houses our K-5, and Marlboro Middle houses our 6 to 8. This intensive program combines academic instruction with counseling and behavioral support. So as we've talked about in the past, this program was built with the idea of having a social worker in the building at all times in the program, as well as a behaviorist who is there three times a week. Really, the goal is to get the students ready to emotionally regulate themselves so that they can get back out into the classroom. We've had a lot of success with students leaving the program and making their way back into whether, depending on what they need for their IEP, whether it's a POR, an ICR, or even a general education classroom. So that is at Marlboro Elementary School. Marlboro Middle, a little bit different, still has the counseling component. It spans 6th through 8th grade, so it's not, the elementary is K1, 2, 3, and a 4, 5, whereas middle spans 6 through 8. Middle has its own social worker for the program as well, so we have an elementary school social worker and a middle school social worker. We also have the BCBA, a middle school BCBA that is housed at Marlboro Middle and oversees that program as well. Those students also at Marlboro Middle get group counseling as well as individual counseling. CST, so Child Study Team members manage and support students within their schools. They collaborate with families, staff, and administrators to ensure each student learns in the least restrictive environment that meets their needs. CST members include the school psychologist, the social worker, and LDTC. Every MTPS school has at least one Child Study Team member there at all times throughout the day. Most buildings have 2 that are stationed there all day. If you go on the MTPS website and go under special services, you can look at who is listed per building for Child Study Team. BCBA services, so we have 4 BCBAs in-house for the district. Each BCBA has 2 schools. We try to really place the BCBA in their strengths based on the populations that's in their schools, because the autism program has very different needs than the ERI program does. So their role in the school, they observe classrooms for consult, they observe individuals with the parental consent, they provide consultation to teaching staff, they train instructional assistants as well as teaching staff, they work with parents as well if there's a need for the parents to have support within the home. They collect a lot of behavioral data, and they complete their functional behavior assessments. Related services, so speech services, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. We have all three in district. We have 13 speech therapists in district. Every building has one, if not two, speech therapists based there. Occupational therapy, we have 4 full-time and 1 part-time occupational therapy therapist. We added that occupational therapist last year instead of doing consultation, contracted provider for OT. We added that service in because it made more sense for us budgetarily to have that person be in district. Physical therapist, that is somebody that we have as contracted provider. We do not have enough hours to warrant the part-time position. And just for a couple updates for the department, so last year the state allowed for the reeval. So if you're in preschool, if your child is in preschool, they automatically need, and they have a disability, and they have an IEP, they are due for a reeval at the end of their preschool year to determine their kindergarten need. So that could be whether they're going into programming and they still require their IEP, whether they no longer require it, whether they might just need speech services. So that's kind of what happens within that time frame. The state used to make it so that we had a 60-day window for preschool to complete those reevals. The state has now given us the ability, which is very helpful because sometimes we have 30 kids that need to get out to kindergarten and we need to place them and it can be a bit of a crunch. The state's given us a bigger window. So as long as we can get consent at any time during their last year of preschool to do their reevals, and they have to be done by June 30th. So it kind of just opened a little bit for us to be able to provide those evaluations in a time that makes sense for us to complete them so that the team doesn't feel like they're struggling to get them done at the end of the school year. I know IEP meeting notice requirement changes. So the annual review meetings has changed. It officially went into effect as of July this year. They had given us a year pre-warning, and our child study team spent the year kind of getting everybody ready for what this would look like. So when you came to an IEP meeting, that is most of the time when the parents would see their present levels, the students' goals, and we talk about programming. Parents are now going to be receiving the present levels prior to walking into that IEP meeting, which I think is actually great. It's just a little bit of a stressful situation. So you will be receiving, if your child has an IEP, and this is just for the annual review, so this is not for initial IEPs, this is just if a child already has an IEP and is going to be continuing with their IEP. You will receive the child's current present levels, so that is where the teachers or therapists describe how the child is doing, their strengths, their weaknesses within the body of the IEP. That will be coming in advance. That has never happened, so that's something that parents can be looking for. That will be coming in advance in 2 ways. So our goal, well, actually not the goal, the mandate, is that it needs to come 2 days prior to the IEP meeting happening. It needs to come 2 days prior via email, and it has to be in the snail mail 2 days prior to the IEP meeting happening, so somebody would receive it as well. Just a side note, I don't know if everybody knows this, but your mail goes to Trenton before it comes back to district. So actually, very funny, not funny, but funny. We received a letter back from Trenton, and it was something that got mailed out, and we just got it back this week, and I told my 2 wonderful secretaries to hold on to this because nobody's ever going to believe me. And I opened it, and it was an IEP that was sent to a parent from 2015. So I'm not hopeful that all this mail is going to get there in time. So parents, we're going to be sending out a letter from our office, like we do in the beginning of the school year, kind of just telling you your case manager, your bus card information if you want to send it into transportation. We're going to also send a letter of like, hey, make sure before your annual review you check your email because that's kind of, I think, what is going to be your best bet. It's going to come in the mail, but I've now lost hope that it's going to come in the mail in a timely manner after getting that. So those are the 2 things that are coming down from the state. That's a change. I think that was it. On our website, there's a lot of resources on our website. There's SCOPE, there's CPAG, there's our own special education corner that has a bunch of our presentations that the teachers have completed throughout the years. We've linked them there. The parental rights also for special education, that is also on the website. Here's our department. I know that the board knows, Ally and I oversee the preschool as well now, and we also added a secretary for special services at the preschool. Her name is also Angela. So Angela, there's an Angela over at the preschool, and there's an Angela over in my office. And that's everything special education, at least for programming-wise. I'll take all your questions.
That was a lot.
It is a lot. I know, it's a lot.
Questions?
Yeah, just on the last slide. So I know last week there was a directive from the NJDOE about dyslexia testing, and that it would be done 3 times a year, and then that data could be available to be passed along to vendors, that they're going to be collecting more student data off of those screenings. Is that something that is going to be implemented here?
I have not in my lens of me sharing any data about any student's screenings, specifically too when it comes to dyslexia, so no.
Okay.
I wouldn't share any of that.
Okay, so for those screenings, will they be done 3 times a year now? Have they always been done? What is our practice?
We now also use the Acadience, and that tests early on. We do not test students otherwise before, after 3rd grade.
Okay.
So that the Cadence kind of is now taking the place of that screener for dyslexia, which is done from kindergarten to 3rd grade every year now.
So just once a year?
Everybody.
Gotcha.
Everybody gets that.
Gotcha.
And then we use that information from the screener, depending on where that is, and then we would pull information for special ed, for like looking at if RTI, if a student needs to go to RTI, we kind of look to see if there's anybody flagged to gather information that way. But that information is not getting shared with any vendors or anything like that. That's just for us.
Awesome, thank you.
I assume any data you do collect is FERPA protected anyway, so
Yes,
you could not,
no data
you
goes
could
anywhere.
not have shared it unless you had parental approval for it. Okay. Other questions?
No way, that was a lot. I'm prepared. Come on. I'm here in the flesh. Nothing?
Just actually a request for future presentation. I know you've done this the last several years, and I really appreciate it. Each of these programs are spectacular. It would help me, or I would help our board members and future board members understand how many students may be potentially in the district who are receiving these types of program services. So if you can just maybe give us some metrics to sort of understand the magnitude of the program. How many autism students do we have? How many students who are going through the multiple disabilities program? That would be a really helpful tool or asset for us.
Sure, that's not a problem. There's around 750 students receiving services in district for special education, just so you know.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have a question. I do want to point out that, and I know we all know this, that we receive tuition students.
Yes.
And, you know, just to kind of reiterate the remarkable nature of that, because there's a lot of out-of-district schools in New Jersey. And if your child goes to out-of-district, it doesn't, whatever the program that fits them, then it's the responsibility of the school. So students can be transported an hour away to Cherry Hill, you know, wherever. And the fact that out of all of these schools that are highly competitive and highly specialized and have built their own reputation, that you have swooped in and now you have put Marlboro on the map of having these stellar placements for students to go out of district from their school district into our school district, because you have developed so succinctly these types of specialized programs. So kudos to you, kudos to the administration, kudos to everybody that works with you, that we are able to now have that reputation, that our special services are, you know, that well defined, that other districts are looking to send their students here, rather than the same old out-of-district placements that have been in existence for quite some time. So I just thank you for that. That's pretty amazing.
Thanks, Carrie.
Any other, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that presentation has taught me it was a lot, but it showed me the complexity and the various levels of attention and education that are needed by a lot of different students. So it's just incredible the time, knowledge, attention, and effort that you and the program individuals that are a part of it. So just amazing job, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Tercio, when we met almost a little bit more than 2.5 years ago when I first was learning about these programs, I asked you a question about your goals to sort of how to grow it, and you've done a lot since that time. So congratulations. I know the ERI program is growing. It's a tremendous credit to the work that you're doing with your team and to the administration here to really address the needs of our students in this district. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Okay, I'm going to welcome up our next presentation, which is Mr. Pinney from the New Jersey School Board Association. Let me welcome you to our board meeting. Thank you for being here. This presentation is on the NJSBA Civility Project, which is something that came to all of our board members as a result of the emails that we get from the NJSBA, and several of them actually highlighted it as an interesting conversation. We've had civility conversations here with our own board, and I just felt it was also important for us to sort of be able to hear what's going on outside of our school district in the rest of the state. So thank you, Mr. Pinney, for agreeing to be here tonight.
No, it's my pleasure, and I just want to verify the Trenton mail is really bad because I get Christmas cards in April and May all the time, so because our office is there. Before I'm going to give you an overview of our program and why we want you to maybe participate in it and how it can help you and be effective. But I do want to thank everyone. Brian and Jenna, you reached out to me, but I had conversations with other people, and I got a lot of different perspectives. But I don't mean that in a bad way. I think people came to this, but they all had almost the same conclusion before we get in. We got to start working better together. It's hard when you're divided. And I know because I've been there. So it's hard when something's always a 4-3 or 5-4 vote. So I'll go through this kind of quickly, then we can have a conversation. Why did this start? And I'll tell you, I'm going to take credit for that NJSBA because it was my initiative. I brought it to my executive director. Sometimes something happens, it sparks an idea in you. And for me, I don't know if you recognize these two pictures. You probably recognize Charlie Kirk on the right. Melissa Portman is on the left. And both of them were assassinated for political reasons. And I listened to all the commentators on this. And one's a Democrat, one's a Republican. I hate to say it, they all said the same thing. We have to tone down our conversations. The public rhetoric has to be toned down. And then, almost in the same breath, they would blame the other side. They might take a pause and say, you know, they're calling us this, they're calling us that. They didn't look internally. And then when I talked to school board members they would come to me and complain about, and look, I've been in every county in New Jersey, more times than I can count. They would complain about, you know, we have to tone this down. But they always seem to blame someone else on their board. They say, yeah, that board member needs it, I'm perfect. I think it starts with all of us. Because we can't maybe control other people, but we can control how we react to them. And I'm not saying that's easy. And also, the other reason I think we need to do it is you look at the statistics. It doesn't matter what association you go to, our communities want us to govern with civility. They want us to have good conversations. You want to have discussions on your special ed program. That's where you want to spend your time. That's the important thing. Now, you guys were all learning a lot, and sometimes we tend to, as boards, spend more time talking about the things that divide us instead of the things that unite us. So, and I say there's a cost to incivility. And there's a reduced trust in government officials. Doesn't matter whether it's a board member, municipal official. I'm not going into the federal level. But also, I know people resigned from the Board of Education when things got too, heated. They're like, I didn't sign up for this. People don't run for the Board of Education because they don't want to have to do that. That's a cost. And these are usually good people who have something good at heart, but they get scared away. I found this interesting. There was a study by the Washington State University, Kansas, and Arkansas on legislative bodies that were incivil with each other, opposed to those that were more civil. The people that have the tough rhetoric, they don't get as much done. Because I think they spend their time talking about things, a lot of time and energy on things, like I said before, that divide us. What we want to do as a board is you kind of want to talk about the things that you all agree on. Okay, I love that summer program. What can we do as a board to make it better? How can we support it? That's where you want to spend your time and energy. Sometimes we get stuck, and I'm not just saying one board, they get stuck on things that are just tough. And I think I told a couple of you, this is about building relationships with each other. And sometimes the worst place to build a relationship is at a board meeting. I know that sounds bad. I shouldn't say that with the school board association. But when do you spend the most time talking? Usually when you disagree. Because then you're like, you know, you all have your talking points ready for that one resolution that you know you all disagree on. So when I talk about civility, and I think this is what we have to do, is come up with what is our definition of civility, and how can we make ourselves more effective as a board. And I don't mean just being polite and nice. It is nice to be polite. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I don't want people say, okay, I'm just giving in. I believe strongly in freedom of speech. Because I've been on the minority a lot of times, so I thought I was usually right, but that doesn't mean that the majority agrees with you. I don't want to have people, you know, suppressing the debate. I wanted the debate. We just wanted a debate that it's a conversation. It's, you know, and I think I used the word debate. When you get into the debate, it's different because now you're trying to win. And I'll get into that a little bit more. The other thing about civility, it doesn't come automatically. You know, boards of ed come, you may not even know each other that well until you get to your first board meeting, unless you serve for a long time and the board's a long-time board members. You have to work at how are we going to work together with people that you may not know. And what I'm saying, it's not easy. You may have, and I'm guessing here, you may have some hard feelings. You know, you've had some things where it's hard internal feelings. But the one thing I did also get from everyone else, it's not easy now. You know, it's hard when you know that you go to a meeting and you've gone through the meeting in your head for 2 hours before you even get there. You do it 2 hours after you get back, and while you're there, you're really nervous, and your stomach's in a knot. So it's not easy right now, so what can we do to make it a little bit easier? Look, I know, and if you have hard feelings, you probably lost the trust of someone. It's going to take a long time to build it up. Once you lose trust in someone, it takes a lot to build it back up. But as I said before, when you guys were talking about it, and I know there was a discussion earlier, I guess over a year ago, about a year ago, I guess, about civility. I think that if you brought that up, you started the conversation because you continued it. You're like, maybe we didn't go where we did, but it never went away. I think you have to start not looking back, but looking forward. How do we start to work together? And I'm not saying I want you guys to have a Friday night dinner with your fellow board members. Well, first of all, that might break the sunshine law, but besides that. But I really want you to learn how to work with people that you may not agree with. That is not easy. It's not easy at all. So the goal of our program is really more, your other program had a lot of differences to this. This is very more symbolic. I had a conversation with some people about this. Actually, by the way, if you call me, I don't tell anyone else who I talk to. Unless they say, yeah, go ahead. But we're just trying to foster the civility at the local level because it will make you more effective. We would like you to pass a resolution. We have a sample resolution. We did some research on it, or went through our legal department. I want you to publicly to think about passing a resolution. There's a pledge you can recite to each other. Because I think most of you, well, hopefully all of you, your word is good. So if you say something publicly, like you made it a point to say, publicly, I want to praise the work you're doing. Because that was important to you to say that. So I think if we say something publicly, maybe you, in the heat of an argument, you might lose it for a little bit, but you probably would apologize. But I think everyone wants to be good with their word. We have a web page that you can see. We'll be adding to it. Starting, I think, next week, actually. We have a series of civility podcasts. We have 2 legislators, one a Republican, one a Democrat. I'm taping them this week. I have a college professor. I have 2 school board trainers from other states talking about how they work it. This is a national problem. This is not just in New Jersey or anywhere else. And we have 2 college students who are Republican and Democrat talking about how they're going around to colleges in New Jersey trying to get the college students to work together. So I'm excited about that, and I have 1 Board of Education. And that's just for the first half of the year. Why are we doing this? I think over the past, probably since COVID, I think it's been a little bit tenser at local board meetings. Oh, sorry. Oh, it works better now. Well, I guess they missed my best points. But our mission as a state association is improve governance. And this is about improving governance. And personally, for me, I think we have to model it for our students. You know, you are a Board of Education, and even the municipal officials. This is a community that everyone chose to live in. And I think leadership is very visible. You have yours live stream. So I think it's important to model that for our students. And I know politics seeps into boards of education. You know, I was born at night, but not last night. I know this is New Jersey, and politics can, you know, seep in. But we are nonpartisan as a body. And it actually, when we had elections in April, it's interesting. A lot of times people didn't even know what the political party was of their fellow board member. Okay, I put in one thing about dealing with the community, because sometimes that's where boards can get kind of divided, is how do we handle a tough public meeting. I'm a big believer in body language. So just my pieces of advice, if someone comes to a board meeting and wants to say something, please look at them. Don't look at your cell phone. And really be empathetic, explain the process. If something goes wrong in district, hopefully you have a good communication plan so that, you know, difficulty now for boards of education and administrators is that we cannot ever be first with the information. And I'll give you an example. One of our coworkers, she was talking to her daughter, and her daughter goes, "Oh my God, Annie was just hit with the car walking to the bus." Well, the teacher was running to get to Annie and tell the principal. Everyone else knew on the internet before the superintendent even knew. So you have to have a communication plan. And try not to play to the audience if you're a board member. Okay, and I want to get back to civility equals being effective. I came across this study where they would go across with people and to see in the workplace, for the most part, who got the most done. And it was people who, when you want to partner with someone, who do you partner with? Usually someone you like, and hopefully they're also competent. But you go with the like first. And if someone's civil, then they're competent as well. They have a larger network if you are practicing this. And there's also people who can we all work around. Have you ever been in a workplace where everyone's like, okay, I have to deal with Joe. This is not easy. And we had this at the association years ago. Someone came up to me with a good idea. I said, oh, you have to go to this person. They're like, no, I'm not doing that. Now, this good idea died because they didn't want to work with someone. So there was a lot of studies that show that the best way to do these things is be civil. And look, I work with our GR department all the time. We have to be nice to everyone. And because one day you're opposing their legislation, the next day you're supporting their legislation. Not the same bill, usually a different bill. And so I think what I try to do is tell you, change your mindset. I was giving my son a lesson, and I thought I was a really good father. I said, Evan, there's no I in team. And he goes, yes, but there is in win. You know, middle-aged students, middle school students are that way. But isn't that what we want to do? We want to win the argument. We want to win that debate. So that's when we get to the meeting sometimes is we're not really listening to the other person. We're waiting for the pause. And then we can jump in with our points. So one of the skills that you're going to have to develop is listening skills, which is not always easy because we're ready for that debate. But I think it's also looking at it long term, say, how can we do this? I don't want to offend other board members. I don't want it to get personal, because once it gets personal, I've seen it where someone votes, Charlie voted yes, so I have to vote no. You don't want to get to that point, because now you're not even thinking for yourself. So the mindset is, how do I think how I can help everyone else without offending them? And you know what? Maybe if you're going to workshop, have breakfast with someone that you normally don't have breakfast with. And maybe not even talk about the district, just to get to know the person. Some other hints I have here. I think the biggest one is listening. When I sent this out, when Brian and Jenna asked me, I said, give out my contact information. I want to hear everyone's story. And I did hear a story, and I told the person, I don't know if they, I said, I have to practice what I preach. I have to listen to all sides. It's important to me. First of all, you learn a lot more when you listen to everyone. You learn, even if you don't agree with their point of view, you learn their perspective a little bit. And if we're civil with each other, you might even get a compromise on a program. You may not win that battle, but you might have gotten a little win there, a little tweak. I don't like demonizing people you disagree with. Because when you do that, and that's kind of what's happening at the national level, in my view, is once you demonize your opponent, it's hard to work across party aisles with those people. I think we just have to practice ourselves, and we have to work on building relationships with each other. I put this in there. I believe in hard things. Now, you probably don't know that. That's the Grand Canyon. Now, I ran that last year. From the South Rim to the North Rim and the South Rim in one day. I believe that there are things, I don't believe I can do anything. I know what I can do, I know what I can't do. And then there's this little buffer there that you're not sure if you can really do it or not. And I think sometimes we have to push ourselves. I did it because I believed that I could do it. If you're going to commit to civility, you have to believe you're going to commit. You can't be half committed. I hate to say it. You have to be all in. And how are you going to get there? Maybe you say, don't think about the whole year. Think about the next board meeting. This next board meeting, I'll work with this person. And there are signs. Recent poll, most Democrats and Republicans have a friend in the other party. Maybe it's an old friend that they kept. I know I do, I don't think we should all be judged by who we vote for president. I mean, that would be not right. And I tell this story. I'm passionate about this. I grew up in a town where it was a Democrat and a Republican were split evenly, which is very unusual. And my father was one of the party elders in one of the parties, and he was on the town council. Eventually, I even got on the town council, and we had battles with the other party. We went back and forth, back and forth. At my father's service, I remember, all the people from his party coming in, and then all of a sudden, people from the other political party came in. I actually started crying when the people who I've been arguing with for like 4 years started to come in. But we knew we were both all committed to this. We didn't agree, but we were all committed to the same community. So I know it's possible to work together, but you have to make a commitment to do it. And I think you guys are ready to do it, because I think it's hard. It's hard to do this, but it's also hard to do sometimes being split all the time. So you have to find a way to do that, and I'll be willing to help however I can. And I think the hard part is incivility is contagious. It only takes one person. There's only one person who can start arguing and things start to fall apart. But here's the thing. So is civility. It's contagious. If everyone starts to do it, and if you're at the board meeting, you'll be the one who kind of brings the tone down. You'll be the peacekeeper. Maybe, just, even if you're not the board president, you can say, I think we need to settle this down. So that's my spiel. Even for people in the public, if they want to reach me, they can reach me. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, I'll be doing this at workshop, but in a little longer version. Actually, I'm doing it at the Monmouth County School Board Association meeting. So, any thoughts?
Let me open it up to the board members first, so they have a
Okay.
chance to sort of engage. Again, Mr. Volonsky.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'll start off by saying, excellent starting point. I'll sign off on these any day of the week. Okay. You kind of lost me a little bit when you said about the 6-4 vote. There shouldn't be a 6-4. It shouldn't be a split. That's the problem. There can be a split.
No.
I
I didn't mean to say that. I said it's
there
hard.
shouldn't be a 6-4.
No. It's okay to have a 5. In fact, you should have
That's what I
debates.
want to say. It's
Okay.
okay to have that.
Yeah.
And hit the reset button and move on.
Okay,
That's
I
the
said
key.
that. Did I say that?
Yeah.
What
Oh.
I heard was, when you said that, you said it's okay, but just because somebody's voting whatever, then you shouldn't just do the opposite because of that person.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, I agree on that. So we'll agree on that. Maybe I heard you wrong, that's fine. So what I wanted to say is, what I always feel this is missing, and what the original presentation we started with a year ago had was some teeth. Where does NJSBA think teeth belong in this resolution? Because the reason people don't run through a red light is because there's consequences if you run through a red light, right? So where's NJSBA stance on having teeth in a resolution?
First of all, it's hard to reprimand board members through any, and even the School Ethics Commission does not, I can't remember the last time they removed a board member. They censor them, and this is for stuff that is clearly written down as law. I think it's harder to do that. I said it in the beginning, it's more symbolic. We're not removing a board, well, first of all, a board can't remove a board member.
No, we can't.
But they can, you could set up board norms if you want. That's been done before, where you say, okay, we're going to act this way at a meeting. We're not going to yell across at someone, talk to them disrespectfully. You could set that up. I did say to someone, it doesn't have the teeth that you may want. I said it in the beginning, I think you have to put your word to it, and then reevaluate it a year later and say, did it work? Did we improve our behavior? Look, I know it's hard, because I'm sure when you get to this point, things can get personal. And so, like I said, that doesn't go away. But what we're trying to do is move forward. and try to work together moving forward. So, and we came up with that because we didn't want to make it a political statement. We just wanted it to be about how we should behave give an example of how boards could behave. You can modify it, but it is hard to give punishment to boards because even the School Ethics Commission doesn't do as much.
The proper path would be the executive county superintendent who goes to the Commission of Education, right?
It goes to the school. Well, if you file an ethics complaint, it would go to the School Ethics Commission.
Yeah.
And they have a body that rules on these. They actually even put out advisory opinions, which is not something that would probably apply here. But like I said, they will censor someone. They can maybe suspend someone. And your attorney's here, I think, right? So you can weigh in. But I don't think that, I'm trying to remember the last time they removed someone, done anything like that. Because I think they're always been a little hesitant if someone's an elected official to limit their duties. Kerry, you had your hand up?
First, I wanted to say thank you. I liked your presentation. I enjoyed it. And I really do believe that it's genuine. You know, when you show the pictures of the senator and Charlie Kirk, I think it's really coming from a genuine place. And we did talk on the phone, so I would just...
I didn't want to say anything.
No, that's fine. Jenna gave the phone number, the email address, and I reached out to you, and that meant a lot that you were like, can we talk? And you got on the phone, and we had a really nice conversation, and you were genuine then, and you're very genuine now in your motivation to really improve civility across the state. I know it's not just here, it's across the state.
I'm doing it one district at a time.
You're conquering it one district at a time, that's correct.
So it's only 588, so, you know.
You're well on your way. I just want to, just for me, to piggyback on what Michael said, I think that for me, it's, you know, getting away from the, you know, you even say, what kind of parent do you want to be? Do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. And I feel like we get stuck in that. And what I mean by that is our job is to set policy for the district. We talk about HIBs, we talk about teachers who break their contracts, who break their policy. We enforce, you know, it's our job to enforce something. It might come all the way up to the board level, and that's what I mean by do as I say, not as I do. Like, how can we sit here and write and instill policy for the employees of this district, the parents of this district, if they break a policy, and the students of this district, and then carry on as if we don't have to follow something. So I think, like what Mr. Lalansky said, is this is why people don't run red lights. This is why people don't do certain things, because they know at the back end of that, hey, look, there's a consequence that I'm going to face. So, you know, to have a policy with a laid out set of consequences, if you want to call it that, or, if you do A, then B will happen, because that's what our job is enforcing policy throughout the district. So then to say, well, we don't have to follow anything, we just have to kind of smile and give our word, when we know deep down we've seen that it hasn't been.
Well, you do have the Ethics Act and all that. And I will say this, it's hard because who's going to be the decider? Like, I wouldn't want to put like the superintendent in that position to say, you're the enforcer of it.
And that's what the policy should figure out, because we're deciders.
I don't think, I mean, that sets the superintendent up to have a tough time alienating someone.
Agreed. But we're the deciders in every other factor. So if we can't regulate ourselves, but then to say, but we can regulate other people, there's a hypocrisy in that. So unless we're willing to do as I do, then a policy, a regulation, however you want to call it, I don't want to misspeak. I think it should be as strong as that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Jen.
And from what you're saying, Carrie, I totally understand that, like, that punitive thing, right? You don't want a ticket if you're running a red light, right? This is why we don't do things. There's also, on the flip side of that, there are studies that are done, right? Like I forget where it is, but it's a road that plays music if you drive on it at the right at the speed limit, right? That encourages a behavior that reinforces a positive behavior also. So, and then there were other things about like, and a lot of it has to do with like music and like, oh, the lottery for the people who speed, right? If you're actually going the speed limit, you can win this lottery from all those that are paying their tickets, right? So we can also think about it that way, like moving forward, right? Like I get the punitive piece, but like that can keep us in the same cycle that we've been in. So moving forward, like that's just something, when you brought that up, like I immediately thought of like the other studies that are done about that also. Sorry.
I will say, it was taking a more carrot approach than it was a stick approach, obviously. But I think you have to start somewhere. And so that was the feeling behind it. This just started. We're always told, we get calls all the time to get rid of board members or you the board, from members of the public, and all. We're not the board police. We don't have any authority to do that. We can give you advice. We can give you training. We just try to help you be better at your position.
Right.
And I understand your perspective, especially if you're probably someone who felt the brunt of something. That's hard. So and that's why it's probably even harder just moving forward. But I think you have to start somewhere. So.
Can you put your mic on? Thank you.
Exactly the point that you're making now. But we have to start small, because we've been crazy. So we really have to, and having an outside person come in and I'm just honest.
You are, I love it.
But, having an outside person come in and tell us this, that's what we needed. We couldn't do it within our group. We needed an outside person to come in and say, this is the way, and it's not just.
I said in one of the slides, this is not easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, there are probably, I'm guessing there are hard feelings on several sides. And that's going to be the hard part. Can you put that aside? Maybe not. Mm-hmm. Can you maybe say, okay, I'll start fresh, at least with some of the people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And how do I start fresh?
And interestingly, when you were saying, that we have to be the role model for our children, well, I saw, it just so happens, my granddaughter and her friend had an argument. Well, the two parents, my daughter and her friend's mother, brought them together. They went out for dinner. It was just the four of them. And the interaction, they have learned, when you say this, I feel this, that they were able to get over their argument from the stuff that they had learned here in Marlboro. Yeah. The teachers are teaching this. We just haven't learned it.
Yeah. And I will say, one of the reasons why I think it's gotten harder is social media. Because the meetings are never over. They're being rehashed all across, and sometimes they're not rehashed with the correct information. So it is a much tougher time now than it was probably 2010. It's not that long ago, but it's with the advent of social media, it makes it harder. Look, if you're on social media, my only recommendation is be G-rated. Don't talk too much about the board business at all. Unless you want to talk about going to the basketball game or the school play or the concert, those type of things. I can't stop you, but with freedom of speech, there are repercussions. Like I could go to my wife and say, I don't think you should have that chocolate cake. I think you put on a few pounds. Now, I can say that. There would be repercussions. But we have to realize that. And as a board member, your social media accounts are looked at a little bit differently than other people's. So.
I really wish you had been here 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago maybe, because we needed, this didn't just start
you guys have to buy it. I can't change your viewpoints. I just can encourage you to try to work together, find a way to work together, make sure you're communicating with each other. That's another important thing. You don't want some board members to have some information and others not to have anything. You don't want to come to a board meeting and say, well, I didn't know this was going on. So that's important. The communication between everyone is really important. And it does, things fall apart. But you need to, I think it'll make you more effective as an individual and as an entire board. So, and I know if you're like, I still want the teeth, I don't, maybe you don't trust some other people, we'll see if they prove you right. Say, okay, we'll start, and then 6 months from later you can say, you said on August 25th, or whatever day you do, remember the date. You pledged this. And just move forward from there. I think it's the only way that you can really have a good, effective board. And I know it's hard. I'm sure you've had meetings where it's like your stomach's been in a knot the whole time. Before, during, and after.
Any other comments or questions? I have a few. Mr. Pinney, thank you so much. I echo some of the sentiments that was shared both by Ms. Jankowski and Ms. Miskowitz with sort of, giving us an opportunity to sort of look back. And even though the word look back should not necessarily be what motivates us, it should be the forward look. So I appreciate that. And that was one of the reasons why I thought it was really important when I spoke to you the first time to have you come and share your perspectives with the full board. Because coming from me, it would be, oh, he's got this perspective. Oh, he's on the majority or the minority or something like that. I didn't want that to be my influence. I wanted it to be what you're seeing across the state, what you're seeing in a political environment or apolitical environment or a nonpartisan environment, as well as what your vision is, what the NJSBA's vision is for the full state, since you work with all the districts across the state. So that was really important for me. A couple of things that I did take away from this, and that is something, I think, Carrie, you said this, was that do what I say. I think of three people. There are those that say, do what I say. Then there are those who say, then there are those who don't do what they say but tell others what to do. And then there are those who practice what they preach. And I have always tried to be the person who tries to practice what they preach. It was actually really, that was the sweetest cell phone ring I've ever heard. So I've always been the type of person who likes to practice what they preach. And I do think that, again, picking up on some of the comments, we tried, I think, as a board, and civility has been a challenge for us, all right? And it's not just in my term as president and either in my term as a board member, but it's been a process or a challenge for several boards over the last several years. And I know that many of our board members, if not all of them, all share the same sentiment, past and present, that we would like to see a better and more civilized board, because it's important for our community, it's important for the work we do, it's an important example that we can set for our students going forward. And what I'm extremely encouraged about, it's an important sentiment that we have to pass on to the next board members. And we are fortunate to have 4 potential board members who are running in the room right now to sort of listen to the sentiment. And I think that's very important for us. So I do believe that we as a board need to set the tone. And we have an opportunity now.
I just want to follow up on one of the things you said. If you remember, when I talked to you, I want to talk to the other board members, because I don't want them to think I was carrying the board, and I said this, your water. So when Kerry called me, I was so excited. No, I called you. How did we do? You emailed me. And I called her, And so, because it's important that you hear all the views and listen. Like I said, you have to listen to everyone. There was we're going to have a civility conference at one point, and one of the lessons was you have to talk, listen to someone that you disagree with and not respond back. That's hard to do. That's really hard to do.
I agree, and it's extremely hard to sort of step away from, what you think is right, and when you rather than sort of just say it's better just, sometimes losing an argument is a better position to sort of, be able to be successful in the future.
And you can change your board culture, too. You can decide to be the board that's going to change the culture. Because if things start to get better, I'm not saying, it's okay to have a 5-4 vote, a 7-2 vote, whatever it is. It's okay to dissent. But if you have a good discussion all the time and people are respectful of each other, that becomes a culture. So when someone new comes on, they're like, okay, I have to respect that culture. If I want to be effective on the board, I have to get to know these people so that I can be effective as an individual board member and as the whole board.
I agree. I just want to sort of, for the purposes of our board members here today, I kind of think that as a board, we have an opportunity. We've had opportunities in the past, and we have not been able to sort of get past the opportunities. But we have an opportunity, to Mr. Penny's point, to look forward. And I kind of think that it starts with commitment, and if we can all be committed to that, to the civility, cultural change of us, then we have an opportunity from there to maybe further define. Maybe after we've agreed or we've committed, we have an opportunity then to further define what appropriate and what inappropriate type of board behavior can look like or should not look like. And to Carrie's point about consequences, it is a difficult problem. We have one board, we have one policy on decorum, right, in which the board president is the sole arbiter of that particular policy. And it's terrible the way it's written. It's terrible the way it's created, and it needs to change. And, we need to, as a board, be prepared to sort of, be committed to make that change, but not because I say so, but because we as a board really need to say so.
Do you do a board self-evaluation?
Yes.
Okay.
If I can just finish for a second. Oh, did you want to comment on that? Yeah, then go ahead. I'm sorry.
For me, like this is how I look at it. This is how deep it runs. Is that sitting up here, and I kind of mentioned it before, that we're kind of like, when we look at the flow chart of the district, the board is at the top and superintendent, and you didn't want to put pressure on the superintendent. And I agree with all of that. But as a board, we make decisions, even if it's just a yes or no vote. So if you have a teacher who posts something inappropriately on Facebook, and now Mr. Ballone has to talk to them, then maybe we should follow, and you're saying it's hard to find consequences, because this is a volunteer position. I understand we were voted and we represent other people, but to me, as you can, and it's not removal from a board, a consequence can be you're no longer the chair of this committee or whatever we decide, because we sit here and make judgments, even if it's a yes or no, about taking away somebody's livelihood based on their actions or suspending them without pay, even with a yes or no vote. The school does their investigation, and this teacher broke this policy or acted out of decorum because they posted like this on Facebook or they spoke to a parent this way, and they're on the policy now, 6 weeks without pay, or whatever it is. And if we're going to say yes or no to that, to jeopardize somebody's livelihood and their health insurance, then surely for this, we can decide on an effective and appropriate consequence to the same actions we hold our teachers and parents and students to. That's just the way that, and so to sit here and vote in that capacity and jeopardize somebody's livelihood, their paycheck, their health insurance, and then not take an oath to say, if I do this and I'm a policy chair committee, I'm a whatever chair committee, I should probably be removed from that based on the same action, then who are we?
I don't disagree with you at all that, but the only problem we have is those are those are meaningful consequences that we can, as a board, adopt in the context of policy. And I'm not against that, all right? I'm in favor of that. But I need to make, I need to feel like, and this is just me personally, not me as president, not me as, you know, as a chair of anything, but me personally, I need to feel that if we're going to open that conversation up, right, we have to have a real good consensus, and we have to have a real good commitment to what it means, right? Because it could apply to any one of us. And that's where I think, as a board, from a civility perspective, from a commitment perspective, it starts with the commitment, which is what I said before, and then we go into a better conversation about how do we define what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and how do we build that consequences into it. And I do think it has to be a policy. It can't be a resolution.
You could
it has
also
to be a policy.
Make a point that in 7 months we'll review this to see if we want to make any changes.
Yeah. Good evening, and thank you for the presentation. I do think that everything that you presented here was excellent, but I do have a couple of questions that I'd like you to consider. In situations, I know NJSBA values women. I've seen your seminars, and I have seen the coursework that you have put out. When confliction on the board transcends into conversation that is inappropriate, but then condoned by certain people on the board, how do you expect a woman to make amends with that and be the example that we're sitting here saying we want to be for the children who are watching? When political or procedural debate turns into conversation about someone no longer being alive and what you want to do to them and threats on their life, when is going out to lunch not a solution to that problem? Because that's the issues that we're facing here. It's not that I want this curriculum and they want that curriculum. It's not that I say up and someone else says down. These are real problems. And I've listened to other coursework distributed by the NJSBA that would never condone that behavior to a woman where comments in this very room were made about her body inappropriately while she served her town. But the same people who will sit and say civility, civility, civility didn't have or feel like civility was a priority. And then that leads to my next question for you, Mr. Cohen. 400 people emailed petitioning for civility. A board member who is in this audience presented a civility policy, I don't even know how many times. We spent hours saying very much of what you're saying right here. Everybody sitting here didn't do a thing. But a year later, after we have tried to work around these issues, why now? Why now, Brian? And a year later, we want to start talking about civility again? When we went a year of 370-something unanswered emails, 110 people coming in this meeting begging for civility, a year later, we're going to start talking about civility? This is the most civil we've ever been. So why now? Why, when Valentina, who's sitting in the audience in the black over here, asked for civility, I don't even know how many times, I mean, from both at the dais and on the other side of the dais, was civility not a priority? But now it is. Your presentation was excellent. What you want to do is phenomenal, but it's nothing we haven't heard here before. So
yes, we did talk. Look, I'm not condoning any of those remarks. It doesn't even have to be against women. It could be racial, religious, or whatever. That's not correct. And the problem with that is it doesn't go away, even when it's a year old. That's why it's going to be harder to overcome, because it's personal. At least I would think it's personal. But you do have to start somewhere. And so I think they're just trying to, I'm assuming we came up with this program in May. And so when I got calls when people got the email and they said, you know what, maybe it jarred something, maybe we do need to do something about it. I'm guessing, I don't really know. I didn't know you had those discussions beforehand. I was told, though, that there were discussions about it, and I read it. So I do know it was discussed. So, but that doesn't mean you don't move forward with it, because it should have been done a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever it was. And you can pass a resolution like this and then say, okay, when the new board comes on, we'll relook at this. I don't know, I'm not getting into the elections. I don't want to get into that. But there's two sets of skills sometimes, too. And we're actually trying to change the skills. One skill is you have to be a good campaigner, and the other is you have to be a good board member in governing. They don't always overlap. You can be great at campaigning and not good on the board. You could be great on the board and not a really good campaigner. But if you guys want to improve, how do you start? And I guess what they were trying to do is let's start now and see how, and then I know you have some, I don't know all the details obviously, but I did say I'm sure there are really hard feelings. And so, but we do need to move forward. And if someone did do something wrong, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying I did cross the line. So I can't change the path. I wasn't here for those discussions.
I will say you're right. And these conversations started, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe November of 2025. Okay? And we've had several of those conversations since November 25. We haven't had a few in the last couple of months, and I think the last one was probably sometime around April or May. I think it was April. We had a conversation at the board, which also didn't get very far. So we've tried. But just because we failed, and I don't view it as a failure, but right now it's a failure. Just because we failed doesn't mean we don't keep on trying. I agree with that 100%. So the answer to your question is why now? Because we should never stop. If we couldn't have gotten it done before, we should not stop. We should at least try. And if this is another viewpoint, another perspective, another opportunity, why not? So I have a different perspective, all right? And if we can sort of begin to set example, or we can begin to at least try again, I'm in favor of trying again, constantly, all right, until we can get to the point where everyone here has some sort of consensus. Mr. Lowansky.
Brian, you made an excellent point with the decorum policy. Would you be in favor, and the rest of the board be in favor, of taking this, and before we accept this, adding the simple line at the bottom that we are going to pass, after we, at the end of pass this resolution, we are going to pass a directive to the policy committee to update the decorum policy, as your word said before, and as Kerry mentioned, if you're on a committee, Chair, what we can do. I know we can't remove board members, but there are things we can do. It puts maybe big teeth, but we're going to put little teeth in the policy, put something in the policy.
Yeah, I actually think, and I agree with you, Mr. Lowansky, commitment to, to revise the decorum policy to reflect commitment as well as reflect consequence is important. And I've read that policy probably about, I won't say as many times as Ms. Mendez probably has read it, but I've read it probably a good dozen times. And I've come up with different ways and different perspectives to share that we can probably build the policy to be better. But I do think that the policy committee can start with a draft, but I think it's really important before it comes to this board as a first read that we have this conversation as a board collectively to continue to modify that draft so that it becomes a collective draft that we vote on together. Because I've seen too many times where policies come here for first read and we go through iterations and discussions and sometimes even civility challenges with some of those policies. I would like us to be able to bring the policy to the board for us to work on together and then be able to sort of adopt it unanimously. It'd be nice to have a 9-0 vote on a decorum policy.
We can also use Ms. Mendez' policy as a skeleton overview of what we're looking for, because we've discussed that many times as well. And then you contributed to revamping. So I think we have something in writing that we can utilize to kind of,
Correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that was a resolution. I didn't think it was a policy.
no, she had a policy as well. It was 2.
Okay.
Ooh,
But
I'm so sorry.
In our conversations, right, Sue, I'm trying to remember, you said something that it like connects with this before, but in our conversations, we talked about the resolution. The resolution came to the table, we went back, we drafted it, edited it, revised it, because at first it was imbued with language that wasn't resolution language, and that's where we were trying to get started, but something that also relates to the voting thing, right? When that came to the table, we voted no because just wanting Val's language, but it also, that language was policy, but I thought we were doing a resolution. So that's why, so that's what you were saying before. We kind of needed an outsider come here, right? Making a proclamation to something of like starting somewhere and moving forward. And then we were going to work on the policy, which we looked at those documents too, but we wanted to start with the resolution. So that's why with this conversation, I was just I just wanted to say that because I did try iterate it, revise it many times so we can come to a resolution on the resolution to move forward on the policy and those things. So no, and I appreciated this conversation, but I think bringing in someone like Ray, Mr. Pinney, was vital to starting somewhere.
I had a question. So the training that you did, this resolution only applies to board members, correct? We don't have the authority to do a policy, or make a policy, or write a policy where we can say the community members, that we can basically, and.
For community members?
Correct. And the reason let's answer that first.
Community members are hard, yeah. They can pretty much come up here and say almost anything that they want. You can give them a warning if someone comes up, like, please don't mention the student's name, but they're not held to the same standards as a...
Yeah, so that was one of the things. Thank you for clarifying that.
You can pass like this resolution, say, okay, in January, we're going to relook at it and look at a policy or something else to follow up on this. But to your point, what you can do, though, is you can, I don't know if I didn't look to see your agenda, you can put something up there to tell community members what the process is. They have 3 minutes. Please keep it concise. We refrain from attacking people.
Of course.
But like I said, the freedom of speech is a tough one to get around.
Yeah, and so
even for board members, like I've seen their posts. I say, oh, I wish they wouldn't have said that. Because there's repercussions to the freedom of speech.
Yeah,
and it is hard with the public. But like I said, if they come up here, they can say that you need to listen to them.
So that's, I think, one of the things, Jenna, you may remember, like when the initial write-up was provided for the civility, I think it was a lot of also not just so much for the board members, but it kind of extended to the community. So that was a concern for us, right? As a board, we had to really take a look at it and say, yes, we could pull through these for board members, but we can't really do that for community members, and you just confirmed that, so that's helpful. My second point was, you touched on social media, and the discussions that happen here at board meetings, we should refrain as board members from taking it to social media. No, right, I'm just saying I'm not saying that you can't, right, agreed. So I think that was something else where most of the board members here agreed that whatever we discuss here, we shouldn't really talk about on social media.
Some districts do have a policy on social media for board members.
Okay, because I know there was a few board members that were against it because going back to freedom of speech, and they're pretty vocal on social media post-board meetings. So that's why there was an impasse, right? Like we wanted to make certain changes, take some of the civility pieces that were brought in, but we were...
I've told board members I wouldn't comment on any national politics as a board member because you can alienate someone in your community one way or the other. But that I can't say they can't do it. They have that right. They have that right. Now you have to put your little declaration that I'm speaking for myself. But that's not a get out of the jail free card either. Because if you do that and then you start talking about the board business or confidentiality, okay, it doesn't matter that you said I'm only speaking for myself. But social media is hard. And I think you have social media policy. You could say, that could be part of if you have a board norms, that could be part of it.
Yeah.
You're not going to refrain from, someone may not want to go along with that though, is my guess. There's usually people like social media. And I think the problem with social media, which is even bigger now because there's too many places to go, is that people tend to do it like a private conversation that they're having with 5 million people. Like if you were in the parking lot, you might complain about someone. But then they tend to do that in social media too. And we tend to forget that that's there forever. And so, and that's the other reason I always call people, because my rule is I don't exchange more than 2 emails. I call the person. Because it tends to escalate. The more text and emails you get, people, for some reason, this is just my opinion, they tend to get like, they used to say beer muscles for a guy when he had a few beer. They have like keyboard muscles. They tend to get nastier as they get along. So I always think just talk to someone.
So we are getting late, and I just want to be sensitive to all this time, because we also have people who are waiting to sort of do public comments, but I just wanted to see if there's any other comments for Mr. Pinney. I do want to not, first I want to thank you. I think, you brought a very good lens to this for us, and I appreciate that. I don't want to walk away from this conversation feeling like, again, what are we doing, right? I kind of feel like that we need to have something. Carrie, I know you mentioned that you thought it was very, very well done and very written well. Michael, I think you said the same thing. Has all the board members have had an opportunity to look at that pledge or that resolution? And I'm not suggesting we stand up and we take the pledge tonight. I think it gives everyone a chance to sort of reflect. But I would like to, if we can, all right, and you can all email me or Jenna or both of us, I would like to be able to sort of commit to doing this at our next meeting, all right, to start our school year off on the right direction with a forward-looking perspective. Mr. Lewanski, I appreciate your comment about adding something to the bottom, which I know we can add, that says that, we pledge to, or we commit to revising the decorum policy to have the appropriate and inappropriate behavior and consequences better defined for future board members, current and future board members. I can draft something and share that with the full board and say, is everyone comfortable with that? But I do want to see us sort of trying to take a step forward. Ms. Paloma.
Yeah, so just in closing on this, I want to just say tonight that by putting this in front of us and saying, we hope we have a 9-0 signing this, you're putting certain people in between a rock and a hard place. Whereas the spirit of civility and what we're trying to achieve here is great, in rereading the resolution, there are parts of it that every person sitting here has a different purview, right? We all come at the situations that we faced from a different lens. I have a unique lens, as well as everybody else sitting here. I know there's board members who are very familiar with it. They've spoken about it. I know Jen has spoken about it. The culture of playing nice and saying, no, it's okay, I know you won't do that next time, is not a culture that I want to emulate for my daughters, and it's not a culture that I want to stand by as I watched other people say, well, it's okay because it was you. And that's just not really fair to ask me to say, I want to go back and just go to lunch, as Mr. Pinney had said, with people or, individuals that participated and condoned behavior and continue to give access in a way that could possibly lead to more abuse. I don't believe in that, and I don't condone that, and I don't want my daughters watching that. I don't want my son watching that, and I don't think it's fair to say that just let's placate it right now, because I wouldn't want that done if it was a student or a staff member or anyone else serving this district. So it's not really fair to be like, oh, look, Danielle's not the one who signed the civility pledge. She doesn't want to be civil. I want to be civil. I want to sit here and have these conversations and not be, wish dead 5 minutes later. That's what I want. But by asking me to put my name here, you're asking me to go and sit down and have lunch with people who didn't even have it in them to say, look, that behavior wasn't right. The behavior that went on surrounding this board, it wasn't right. We don't condone it. I'm not speaking about you. I know you issued a statement. However, I watched everybody here. So then to ask to play nice in the sandbox because it looks good, because we signed the civility pledge, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that the people that are in this district that we serve will have a different outcome than I had last October. And that nobody will have to deal with the things that, individuals on this board had to deal with, and now we're being told, well, sign the paper and let's be nice. That's not the way it works, and that's not what we should be asked to do. So I just want to say it here tonight that let's all sign the paper. This is going to be great. We're going to be civil. Has a different meaning to some people than it does to others, and it's not because you don't want to be civil, and it's not because you don't want to have forward momentum, and it's not because you don't want to be productive. It's because by signing this, it's giving an allowance to behavior that I wouldn't want my children to see, me saying it's okay. Well, we disagreed, and this is what happened, and it's okay. We're civil. Everything's good. We signed the paper. I don't go for that. So unless this is changed, I will be the one that doesn't sign the paper, because this has to change and actions have to change. You don't just say, okay, let's just play nice now, because that's different for different people.
So I appreciate your perspective and for sharing that. And I wasn't suggesting when I said we've looked at it, and I didn't suggest we signed it tonight. I actually asked for everyone to sort of get back to me with feedback, and if you have specific language that you think would be better or more acceptable for you and for the other board members to consider, I would welcome adding that language to it. I think if there's ways to sort of express those concerns that you have in that pledge, then I think it makes the pledge better. So I'm very much in favor that if you would share some language that you think, or if you're not sure of the language, if you want to have a conversation with me, I'll work with you to help put that language in. And then we let the board decide how they want this to come up with the final version. I also think, quite frankly, and Mr. Pena, you tell me, one thing I think is that Ms. Palomo has made statement, which I think is very valid and very has a lot of points to it, is that the pledge has different meanings to different people. All right, and it's very hard to have. Right, it's very hard to have one pledge that everyone's going to sort of take, except for the Pledge of Allegiance, and even that has very different meanings to all of us, right? But we still take it, right? But we still, we reflect upon it, and we still sort of make statements, and we can still make a statement that says, I agree with the civility, I agree with what's in here, but I want to add something to my civility pledge that I think everyone else should consider. And
you could add something, because obviously there are some issues there that I don't really know those issues, but they're definitely serious. So they can be addressed. Can't go back in time, but you can say some things have been done that we don't accept, particularly moving forward. Because if something like this happened in district, you probably would change district policy a little bit down the road.
so I'm gonna just, again, I think what I'd like to do is I'll create a working version of the draft. I'll ask you all to sort of either share with me any suggestions or even make the changes to the working version yourself. I mean, we should all have shared access to it, all right? And hopefully we can come back to this meeting next month with some sort of, forward movement progress. And if we can't, maybe we'll do it the following month, but we should continue to keep trying. And that's my commitment.
I agree, and I appreciate that. And just in closing, just so the community knows, if anybody is watching, I do believe that the perceived sides have been working very well together the last several months, and there is forward momentum on this board. We've done a lot of good work on committees. We've moved forward to a positive start to the year. There's been great work on advisory and curriculum, which I have firsthand because I'm on those, but I'm sure it's happening on the other committees. So I do believe there is actual civility growth going on, even without a pledge. It's just, I know that you want to memorialize it or formalize it, but for the community to know that, you know, there's been really productive work going on lately.
Thank you for sharing that.
I think.
Thank you. I agree with you, and I do want to memorialize it, but I want to memorialize it in a way that sort of, you know, sets the tone and direction for future boards and for future people who want to run for this seat on the board, so that we can, we have more candidates than seats, because that's the most ideal thing. So that's my commitment. So again, Mr. Pinney, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
We have a full agenda that we need to go forward.
Time.
Thank you, everyone, for engaging in this conversation. It was very helpful. Our next item up for discussion is our public comments.
Mrs. Mendez.
Ms. Mendez.
Hi.
It
Can
should
you hear
be
me?
always on. Right now,
It
it's
should be
always
on.
on.
Okay, good. Thank you. First, I just want to say good evening. Mr. Pinney, I love that you came out and that NJSBA has an initiative and they're going to try and help. More to come. I'll be back on that in a second. But to the members of the board, Mr. Below, Ms. Jelinski, Mr. Gross, it's nice to see you. I just wanted to say a few things. Just to clarify, when I did present the resolution and then a sexual harassment draft policy, even to do that because we do have it for staff, we have it for a variety of people, I actually said, don't have to use any of this at all, but it is at least a start. And then I continued as a community member because I believe that we should really have work and progress moving forward. I did also want to say that there were some comments made that I don't want to make sure we don't lie to the public. In there, actually, what I did write was not governing community members, but it was asking community members to not provide death threats to members of the board. And so I did put in a resolution or in the policy that that would be unacceptable. And I think that that's a fair statement. Now, anybody, including the board and including the members of the community, have First Amendment rights. But threatening board members' lives, to me, is not okay. And so that is what I put in there, and I think that that should stand. I think that nobody should be threatening anybody's life. So I did put that there. Second, I think a policy on sexual harassment for board members that I did draft should be in existence. There is one for staff, and it is so important that there is one, but guess what? Board members need protection too. And so I do believe in that, and I still stand behind that. You don't have to use anything that I drafted. You have a policy committee. Do as you must. But you should have something in place to protect your board members. It's a volunteer gig, as you said, Ms. Jankowski, and that is really important to protect the people that are volunteering their time for this district. Putting that aside, Mr. Pinney, you and I had a really great conversation, and I'm so happy to see NJSBA doing this. I would say a couple of things, because feedback is a gift. I would say that the information that was provided is your very, 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 very basic information, and I like it, and I thought it was so good that you're out here and you have such a passion for it. But to make actual change and move the needle, there has to be something behind it. And so going out there and telling people to be kind to each other and putting up pictures of Charlie Kirk and a senator, I think is interesting and a good approach. I get it, differing opinions, and people know where I stand politically. I'm very vocal on that one. I'll leave that off. But I would say that to do that, boards have to have a level of accountability. There is nothing wrong with what Ms. Carraro said. Some positive reinforcement is great. The music and all of that when it comes to traffic lights I think is great. But I also did add there needs to be a level of punitive repercussions as well. And so removal from leadership positions can happen. The board president, which by the way, Mr. Cohen, I agree, you and I have talked about this numerous times, it should not be on the board president, only I have said that in meetings before. It should be collectively, as a board, should be discussing it and potentially voting on it, so it's not only with the board president. You don't have to take any feedback, but I have said this 350,000 times, and I will say it again. That's the craziest noise I've ever heard. I would just say, it's so loud it scared me.
That
I'm
just
just gonna
scared the
say-
daylights out of me.
In closing, I would
I don't know
just
how you
say-
held yourself together for that
I
one.
jumped internally. I would just say, Mr. Pinney, I think this is great, but feedback, and I did reach out back when I was board president to our rep as well for training on civility. That was not a thing then, so I think this is good. But real training, that's just guidance. I think real training is giving actual actionable things for boards to do, and maybe not so much of a generic resolution, but more like, what can you do if this happens, and something to hold them accountable. So in that, again, thank you, Mr. Pinney. I love that you're here, and Mr. Cohen for bringing it some change, hopefully, and I hope it moves forward positively. And Ms. Carraro, I saw you did that
Thank
too.
you. Does anyone else want, there's no one else signed up for speaking, but does anyone else want to speak for this round of public comments? Mr. Pollock.
Good evening. Adam Pollock, St. Lawrence Way in Marlboro. So I saw the notice about the postponement of the superintendent contract hearing and the request for public comment and feedback. So I wanted to make my voice heard as a parent in the district. In my opinion, Mr. Ballone is a great leader for our district, and we are lucky to have him here. I've interacted with Mr. Ballone on multiple initiatives over the last few years. He always accepts feedback and is willing to explain the reasoning behind all of his decisions. He's been focused on community inclusion and understands the norms of our district and the expectation to have parents heavily involved in shaping the direction of the district. I was impressed with his involvement and responsiveness to issues addressed last year around the Jewish community in town and his outreach to religious leaders. I also worked with him on referendum outreach last year that was successful, and served on the technology advisory board, and found his attitude, his temperament, and subject matter expertise as a valuable resource. He has also showed immense fiscal conservatism with the decisions he has helped shepherd around the budget, maintaining many of the standards, class sizes, and staffing levels we expect in Marlboro, while balancing increased costs and tax increase constraints and sensitivities. Another thing I personally find valuable is that Mr. Ballone was a teacher before he was an administrator. Because of his experience, he is empathic towards our teachers and understands what teachers face, which allows for greater insight and awareness for problem solving and conflict remediation. We are lucky to have Mr. Ballone, and I am supportive of extending his contract. The last item I wanted to bring up was the timing around the contract renewal. In my professional career, I negotiate contracts. We negotiate contracts for services, for technology, for bodies of work, and for human capital. It is a standard business practice to not let a contract expire or even allow it to get close to expiring if your intent is to extend the contract. Especially when dealing with human capital, not having a contract or not knowing the intentions of your employer sows doubt and concern. I find it prudent and responsible for this board to provide certainty on our intentions as a district if we are in fact happy with Mr. Ballone's performance and leadership. The last thing we would want is to not provide that guidance to Mr. Ballone and then force his hand to look at other districts. Remember, Mr. Ballone is a professional. He has a family, and he has to look out for his professional career. If we want to continue with his leadership, we owe it to him to provide certainty. If I was in his shoes and it was in the last year of my contract, if I wanted to stay in the district and if I was concerned if my employment was in doubt, I would do what was prudent for my family and I would begin looking for new employment. I do not want that to happen. I want Mr. Ballone to continue as the superintendent. Thank you for your service to our district, Mr. Ballone. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. That's right, there was no one else on the list. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right, seeing that no one else wants to speak, motion to close public comments. Ms. Jankowski, a second. Ms. Carrera. All in favor? Thank you. Anyone opposed? All right, public comment is closed. Before we move on to the next item, any other comments or things that anyone wants to bring out because of the presentations or the public comments? No. Okay. We are up to referendum update.
Yes.
We did a referendum?
I have a slide.
A slide. Oh, you're not, okay, you're going to make that bigger, right?
Yes, I have a slide. Okay, we wanted to make a slide instead of just me speaking. So we broke it down in 3 sections. First, I want to talk about financials, just kind of reiterate what we've talked about. The approved referendum was $5.3 million. We awarded a contract to Chapel for $4.66. Obviously, there's other costs in a referendum, architect, engineering, and such, about $337,000, which comes out to about $5 million. So doing the math, right now, it's looking like we're gonna be about $345,000 under budget, which at the end of the project, we'll be able to take those funds and put them back into cap reserve. So that's really good news. I will put this on the website, you know. Yes, it'll be under referendum update, so it'll be there. But I just wanted to kind of reiterate and let you kind of know the status of what's been going on with that. Additionally, we paid the bond July 15th, the note, sorry, it was a note, paid the whole thing, and we earned about $15,000 extra between the bond premium and interest that we'll be able to put into general. So financially, great shape, very happy. Construction progress. I wrote all the notes there. I don't know if you really need me to read them all, but we're moving. We're moving, and things are on track. Go to project start. So as soon as school starts, we anticipate having everything ready, of course, after it starts. We're going to do night shift and days and holidays. So they're going to be rocking and rolling. They're ready. And we're looking forward to staying on track for late spring completion.
2027.
2027.
Just want to make sure. Because
yes. No.
That's
yep.
important. That's
yeah,
a very important
we
date.
haven't heard of any equipment delays. Like everything's on track. I know. I had a knock on something. Yes.
This is a great update. For the night shift and the daytime holidays, are employees going to be in the building for that, or is it only contractors?
So there will be times, I'm going to be transparent, there will be times that aftercare will still be there at Asher and Robertsville, but they will not be in sections where we're working. The workers that are coming in to do work at Asher and Robertsville after hours will not be where the children are. They're going to make sure that will never happen.
And I'm more specifically talking about for what would be overtime shifts or however, for buildings and ground staff to be.
Oh, yeah, we have our ACB employees, our contracted employees. We have a night supervisor that's our employee that will be around the district.
So there's no additional expenses for employees being
absolutely
in the building?
none.
Thank you.
Is it, when you say night shift, are we talking about second shift or third shift? Second shift usually is like, 5 to midnight or.
After school.
And then midnight to usually third shift.
Right, so night shift is just after school.
Okay. So that's still the time that we would expect to have staff in the buildings, custodial staff?
Yeah, we could, and we could have kids in the building.
Okay.
But we will make sure, as we did with Morel when we did the project, or Dugan, that if they were working when there were other people in the building, they are sectioned off. So we've done that before. We will continue to do that with this.
Okay. Other questions? Did you want to follow
I
up?
just had a little piggyback question.
Go ahead.
For Robertsville, if there are areas that aren't going to be utilized, is that being communicated with outside organizations that may be looking to use that space?
It absolutely will.
Yeah? Okay, awesome.
Absolutely
Thank you.
will. Yep, it'll all be, whether it's Girl Scouts, whether it's rec, we will make sure, yes.
Carrie.
So the custodial staff that works that night shift
Yes.
to get the buildings ready for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, when the contractors are there,
Mm-hmm.
do the contractors clean up their own mess, or do the custodial staff that we employ have to clean up after them?
I think that the contractors in clean up their own mess.
Okay, I
for the
just
most
wasn't sure
part.
if we're putting even
Will there be
more on
dust
our
here, there?
custodians.
There might be,
That's a
but
lot.
our ACB employees will obviously double check to make sure that it's suitable for class the next day, if it's a classroom.
You mean
But-
construction contractors leave a mess?
Look, we had them in Morel. We were very, very happy with Chapel at Morel.
Right.
We have a really good experience with them. They did what they were supposed to do. If there was ever an issue, I'm sure they were talked to, so.
I'm not even concerned about like the students coming into a mess. My concern is for our employees contributing to their work, now leaving with them
Correct.
a
Yeah,
mess
no,
and then stressing
we're-
them out, and they're going home later to their families because they're now
Right.
cleaning up a mess that was left
Well,
behind. I
our,
just
the
wanna make sure that
ACB
wasn't
staff,
happening.
the contracted custodial staff is until 11:30. So, but yes, people are going to clean up their own mess, but we, of course, will check it because that's what we do.
Other comments or questions?
Yeah, just on the night shifts and the the daytime holidays.
Yep.
Do any of those work shifts correlate to overtime or double pay for the contractor? And if so, is it included
It
in the
was all
budget?
included in the bid.
So
There's
that
no
budget
extra-
already
the
includes it
bid-
all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. They knew when they bid.
That those are the shifts they have to
Yes.
work? And that they'll
They had the
work
school
around it? Okay.
calendar, they had all of that. They knew all of that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the projected, and like, what is the projected done date of the project?
Late spring.
Late spring. So the storage containers will stay on site all throughout the project?
They'll stay on site until we get all the equipment out of them.
Gotcha.
So, you know, that was their housing, all that stuff. We don't have place in the buildings, obviously, to hold like,
And-
the units.
Oh, I'm sorry. And those are located like out on the blacktop?
So
I
they're
haven't been
at
by there
Robertsville.
yet.
So if you go to Robertsville
Yeah.
right now, there's that side parking lot.
Right.
All the way to the right by the grass.
Okay.
They're there. Actually, Mr. Balone asked me today. He said, we have storage containers there. I was there today. I didn't even notice
I was
them.
there yesterday
So
and I
they're
didn't
pushed
see
over
them.
to the side?
so.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So they're there. There's two of them. And they're housing all the equipment for both schools. So,
Yeah, and I guess just a second point on
Yeah.
my question, to piggyback off what's Ms. Palomo said, is any of the, I guess, the school district staff,
Mm-hmm.
is there any extra cost for them staying after?
No.
So that's all worked
Yep,
into?
everything's
Okay.
worked
There's
in.
nothing that's additional that
No.
we're, okay.
nope.
Any other comments or questions? This is great news.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Congratulations on the work that's been done on this, and I can't wait for the air conditioning ribbon cutting
Yes, for
opportunity,
sure.
because that is going to be the greatest celebration
It will.
we can have.
It'll be great. And I'll have this on the website. But yeah, this is, it's good news and we're under budget and we'll be able to put money back in reserves, which, I mean, I'm,
That's unheard of.
right. And I'm financial and for me, that's like awesome. I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, that's-
So, and I'm
I-
sure you all are too, because
Yeah,
I know pulling money out is always, so it's all good news.
Yep, I just wanted to seriously congratulate the board, the administration, obviously Chris, you, for all the work, because I know obviously there were concerns and, we were trying, and we really worked hard to get
We did.
here. I remember we were there at Marlboro Day talking to everybody that was walking by. Jenna and I were in the booth at the same
Giving them ice
time,
packs, everyone
telling
had
them,
ice
please
packs."
vote yes. So I'm glad that that passed, and I just want to, again, whoever's watching, we are under budget by $345,000, and we'll be able to return money to our capital reserve. I think that's really kudos to this board, again, administration and Chris, for everything that you've done. So, and
Thank
our
you.
kids now, every school, every child in this district will be able
Absolutely.
to study in class comfortably and not be hot in those really
Absolutely.
summer, really bad summer weather. So.
Thank
Yep.
you.
I would say also, just to those comments, we're not only under budget by 345, we are debt-free,
Mm-hmm.
because everything's been paid back. And that's great, because
So
that's
the
what
slogan
many
was
people
what
were
it
very
was.
concerned. So no debt and hopefully no sweat.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely no sweat after
And,
like,
Yeah.
and we did make actually, we're positive $15,000
Yep.
on just the interest.
Yeah, interest and
Which
bond
was-
premium.
Which was pretty
So,
great.
yeah. Yeah,
That you
that's
can
great.
actually, we made money on borrowing money.
We did.
$360,000 in general. Yeah.
So, yeah, all good things.
So,
So,
thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, harassment.
I just have
Oh,
one question, Chris. When we got the initial projections, that was not the number that was given of what you estimated we would have to transfer to capital.
Right, we thought it was going to be more towards 3.
We thought it was going to be significantly less, and we didn't get the insurance. What changed? Was it just that estimate came in so low?
Yeah, the bid. The
Yeah,
bid was,
'cause the
because
rest of the estimates were almost double.
the project that was submitted to the DOE, the construction piece alone was estimated to be like 4.9.
Right,
So
yeah.
it
okay.
really, and the 4.6 for Chapel is with a contingency in it, too.
Okay.
So, I mean, if they don't use any of the contingency, that number will be higher.
Yeah. yeah.
So it's all good news.
So it wasn't when we were looking at the numbers in the beginning, we were not anticipating a bid to come in that low with
Correct,
that many.
correct.
Right, right. So it was
Absolutely
not
correct.
foreseen.
And, at the time, you have to remember when we were coming out of COVID, equipment was still, so there was so many unknowns.
Right,
But I guess with any project, with any referendum, everything is the best guess.
right.
The professionals do their thing, and thank God we're on the good side of it.
Yep,
So,
thank you.
all right. Mr. Malone, harassment and intimidation, HIB.
Yes, this is for the report for the time period July 17, 2026 through August 20, 2026. There were 0 incidents.
Thank you. I'll take the next 2 items. One is the meeting dates. Our next meeting is going to be on September 15th. That'll be a regular meeting, followed by the meeting on Tuesday, October 13th, which will also be a regular meeting. I'm going to now move for the minutes from the July 21st meeting, both the regular and the executive meetings. Can I have a second on my motion? Ms. Jankowski. Can I have a roll call, please? Any discussion on the minutes before we do that? Okay, if you weren't at the meeting, just abstain. Otherwise, roll call, please.
okay. Mr. Lalansky,
Yes.
Dr. Miskowitz,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Belomo.
So yes to the regular meeting, no to the, abstain from the first executive, and then yes to executive.
Thank you. Mrs. Carrero,
Yes.
Mrs. Gandhi,
I abstain.
and Mr. Cohen. Oh, sorry, and I apologize, Mrs. Jankowski
Yes.
and Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, board secretaries, monthly certifications.
Yes, everything is certified, nothing exceeded the appropriations, and we are in compliance with NJAC.
Thank you very much. Any questions on that? Moving on to committee reports. Advisory committee is up first. Ms. Carrero.
All right, hold on, sorry. Not prepared. All right, so we have been continuing to create the meaningful opportunities by sharing the interest form with community members to contribute their perspectives and experiences and their different skill sets to district initiatives. So we developed and distributed the community interest form. We now have 33 responses, and I swear after this meeting, when I get home, I will be reaching out to everybody just with a personalized response if you are interested in the playground project, because I spoke with Mr. Ballone and Mr. Cohen, and the district will be reaching out in October to schedule like a meeting to get your input. So I just will make that known here, but I will follow up with emails for everybody who said yes or maybe on the form. And I think there was like 27 of those 33 responses that they were interested in some capacity in giving feedback. And this is for the Marlboro Elementary School Playground Project. So basically, so we're reaching out to schedule that, and we are looking at like considerations for your input on like accessibility, inclusive and sensory play, shade, seating, age appropriate, overall usability, whatever you can think of that you think would contribute meaningfully to this project. And then for those who may have not been or cannot contribute to the playground project, we will also be continuing, and we'll find something in the future that matches with your skill set and your interests for future projects. And if you want to add anything, you're more than welcome to.
I'm going to defer and see if Mrs. Bowman wants to.
Just over the last couple weeks, well, last month or so, I think that the work that the advisory committee that we've been doing has been great. I think that that idea really came together, and the feedback has been great. Even talking to parents in the district, the ones that did sign up are really excited, and I think the project will ultimately be significantly better off getting that input. So thank you both for all the communications that you've put out and the constant back and forth, and for taking the feedback and making that the forum as well as the communications really reach a wide audience. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you. And I agree with you. I think the work between the committee has been very collaborative, and very productive. I'm super excited about the response that we got in just a very short time, especially even during the summer when people are not really paying too much attention. We got really great responses, and I do think that this is going to set a really great sort of momentum and sort of a practice for the future when we do things like this, where we go out to our community and we get their opinions and we get their feedback to help set standards for future. We know we're going to see more playgrounds in the future, right? It's going to happen, especially since we don't have to do air conditioners, but we can do playgrounds. And at least this way, we will have the opportunity to sort of use the standards and use the experiences from this interaction to help build those future playgrounds to the same level, if not even better. So I'm super excited about this.
May I ask a question? When the looking for people goes out, is it just to parents in the district, or is it to the community?
This went out to the community? No, it did not.
So right now it went out just to the district through the email, and with the response rate, and we don't know what future projects just yet, we didn't want to push it out to the community yet, but hopefully we want to share it when there are things that come up for even more participation.
Okay. Yeah. Jen is right. She reminded me correctly. I misspoke, but
no,
we didn't want
I don't want to assume, because I get it. Everybody does. We
didn't want to sort of go out there to a larger group and then be overwhelmed with responses and not be able to be responsive or even accept their services. It would be too much. So we didn't want to overwhelm the administration on this.
I think that strategy is good because the school playgrounds are such a niche. Like, if you don't have a child or experience with a playground at a school and you go to like a community park, it's like, oh, well, that would be great, or some kind of bigger structure would be great, but there's so many confines at a school with the playground. So I think bringing in community members who are utilizing the schools is a great approach, but hopefully if we do something more broad like technology, then going out to the wider community would be more beneficial. So it's a good strategy.
I just have one thing that I was thinking about before, and I don't know how we feel about it. It's a half-baked idea, but with the ELL presentation and then Mary Elizabeth's presentation, I was thinking about even possibly like leveraging an advisory committee, right, for more involvement from even those communities to kind of create like a support system, or like that, because there was, like you brought up, Brian, there is a substantial amount of people who we might not have professionals for in the schools. So to for those type of things, whether it's guidance, bringing them through like the paperwork or whatever. But Mr. Ballone, I don't know if there's already things like that set in place, but I just thought it would be cool. It would be an interesting call to the community and building unity in our schools also.
I don't want to speak for the administration either, but I think that is a really cool idea, because it's not just about It's about sort of trying to find the expertise across our community in our languages that we may need translation services or to help explain complex or difficult situations. This may be a really great way. So it actually is it's a good segue into just reminding everyone that the purpose of the advisory committee, as we established it last year with the charter, was to open it up to the committee chairs that if they think they need some advisory help, this is a perfect opportunity to reach out to us, and then we can then put something out to the community to say, hey, you know, we're looking for people who have this expertise, and build that base. And then the same opportunity is extended to the superintendent in his role for the district. So it's either committee chairs or the superintendent have the ability to trigger the advisory committee to sort of help support you. Any other questions for the advisory committee? Thank you. Curriculum, you've been not very busy this past summer.
Oh, not at all, not at all. We were sitting back, relaxing. We had 2 meetings since our last board meeting. The first meeting, Mrs. Gross went over all the logistics and how they were going to work on the curriculum, preparing the curriculum, and how we could look at it. Then we came back to 2 weeks later, after we sat and read through numerous curriculum guides. And I have to say, we all agreed, everything, it was done amazingly well, right? You know, every single curriculum guide that we read through was absolutely spectacular. So, and we did have some questions for a few things, and Mrs. Gross took care of it. She went back and checked on a few minor things, and got back to us immediately, and we're going to approve them today. So
great. And do the other members of the committee want to add anything?
All of them were phenomenal. There was very few suggestions even. The one that really stood out to me because it was a little different was the engineering curriculum. It was excellent. It was so exciting and forward-thinking. So I don't know exactly who was on that committee, but it was an excellent job. And like I said, they were all excellent, but that one really stood out because it was so different than what I've seen in past years, just even looking through like coursework, but really creative and really forward-thinking, and I think it'll put Marlboro on track to be ahead of the technology curve with that curriculum.
Mrs. Belomo and I both reviewed that same curriculum guide, and we were just both blown away. It was just
Will that be for middle
well
school?
done.
Will that be the middle schools?
Yeah, it's in the middle school. Yeah, but it actually starts in the elementary grades as a piece of the technology program, and then it mushrooms into a much bigger program, and it's spectacular. I'm really looking forward to hearing wonderful things about the program.
There's a lot of technology. I actually just skimmed through it, but in the media lit component too, like through the library programs, they're very focused on STEM, and technology is it's actually crazy because I did the physical education one as well, and there is a technology component in almost every curriculum aspect of how it's going to be used in that subject matter. But that engineering curriculum was really good.
Great. Ms. Jankowski.
I just want just the public to hear, because the draft guides were posted, a few things. When these teachers are sitting down, it's not like 50 teachers. It's like 3 teachers and 1 supervisor. And these guides were extremely comprehensive. So I just want to acknowledge their hard work in getting these draft guides ready for us to review before today's meeting, to give us ample time to review them. And again, the detail and comprehensive nature in which they review the guides. It took a lot of care, concern, and knowledge to do that. So I just wanted to thank the staff who prepared all of them. And I want to thank Mrs. Gross for being very open to any questions or suggestions we had. There was no pride in the room. There was just a very productive exchange of ideas, and everything that we suggested, she came back to us, if not that day, the next day. And all of our suggestions were given due attention, and that really meant a lot to us. And finally, just for the parents out there, when they are reading through the curriculums, and hopefully they are, that they pay special attention to that all of the curriculum guides were tied to executive functioning skills. So that really meant a lot to me. The entire guide. So every student, there's a focus on building their acquisition of executive functioning skills, which will just make them overall more productive and free, independent thinkers, and organized and attentive and more confident in their thinking skills. So I really applaud that effort to do that because it's so important. So thank you.
Thank you for recognizing the staff and the curriculum directors for the work that they do, because that was their entire summer. So thank you for doing that.
I just want to add something. Oh, did you have something to say? I just wanted to add, I think the whole thing about the executive functioning, so I remember it started with the Special Education Committee last year when we brought up like the whole RTI stuff, and I know that Mary Elizabeth was going to be working on that for obviously the special education kids, but then Dr. Miskowitz and I had wanted to invite Mrs. Gross and join that conversation when that came up. She's like, hey, this is great, you know, because I feel that, again, it's the executive functioning piece is not just something that could help kids with special needs, but also kids in the general population, right? So that's when that kind of came up. So again, to kind of, I know we hold a lot of meetings or these committees, you know, kind of standalone, but it's important to have sometimes, you know, like when we're talking about special education, it was great to have Mrs. Gross come in because those conversations that we were having sparked something in her that led to this, which wasn't obviously maybe at some point not happening prior years. So I think we should encourage a little bit of that more often if we can. If we feel there's like something that can cross over, it's okay to invite somebody from that committee to come and join a meeting that you have so they hear firsthand what's going on. So I just want to say it's great that, I think Mr. Ballone, you were in that meeting too, and I think Brian was there, but I'm really glad that that actually did translate into it being, you know, applied to this year's curriculum. So, yeah, which is great.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I have
So thank you for suggesting that in your meetings because it worked out well.
Mr. Cohen, I'd like to just add to this. I think the public has to know how much time and effort the committee members put into all of this. You know, as Mrs. Jankowski said before, it's a volunteer job. And we've spent hours and hours going over curriculum, you know, going over special ed things, policy, communications. This is not, you know, it's not just that we come here and sit here and talk. We've spent hours preparing and going over things with Mr. Ballone's team, with his administrative team, to be able to come forward and explain things to the public. So thank you to all the committee members, for all of us.
Mr. Ballone.
Just one other thing, thank you all for that hard work, but it's also important to understand that the standards did not change. So while the standards didn't change, there was a lot that did change in here, and the one thing that I'm really proud of is it's probably 3 years in the making when we as a district introduced the PROS initiative, preparing for real world opportunities. This is the first time that we're actually seeing tangible pieces that are embedded into our curriculum guides. So now we're going to realize, I'm really excited to see what happens this school year, because now teachers are going to be preparing our students for real world opportunities. Executive functioning is certainly one of them. The other two, academics, collaboration, and EQ, emotional intelligence, which is a nice, you know, it's kind of fitting for tonight's discussion that we had as well. So, and of course, executive functioning being the last one. So I am particularly excited to see how this all comes together in the classroom. This was a vision that we had 3 years ago, and it's finally now coming together. So I'm really excited for that, and thank you all for the work that you did.
I have just...
Sorry, would you just
I was just making a joke that I know for sure my daughter's going to benefit from the executive functioning piece of it.
It's a skill that, it's actually, I wouldn't say it's a skill, but it's more, it's functions that are often very much overlooked at home.
Yeah.
And the more we reinforce it at school and point out some of the challenges some of our students are facing at home, that they can actually have better chances of success. So yeah, I do think it's important. What were you going to add?
This is just a housekeeping question. I have a couple of follow-ups on curriculum items that Mrs. Gross did not get back to me on. I don't know if it just like fell through the cracks. Do you want me to ask now, or should I wait until the agenda? Would you prefer me to ask them under each agenda item?
You can ask now, and if I can answer them, I'm happy to.
Sure.
Otherwise, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, for 3, we were looking into the presidential fitness test and where that would be used. It wasn't listed as a benchmark assessment, which I know was some guidance that came down that test can be used again, should be used again. So Morgan did acknowledge that, you know, she would get back to me on that one, but we were there for quite some time. So I don't know where we stand on that one. And then in the school counseling curriculum, the Nurtured Heart program, she was just going to get back to me on when that, when that program was obtained by the district, when we started using that. And then the last one was a specific book. I don't really want to get into the details of it, that she said she would take back for consideration about an opt-in, opt-out form on the lesson that was going to utilize some of those, that specific material for age appropriateness and some other issues that I brought up, and I just wanted to check in on that. Nothing that would prohibit me from approving these curriculums, but those 3 items I would like to know.
Sure. I did have discussions on all 3 of those items with Mrs. Gross. And again, I don't think I thanked her for all of the organization and work that she did. She did an incredible job with this. Let me work backwards. So the book, was it the Princess and Paper Bag? So both of us read the book.
Sorry, what was the name of the book again? I'd like to know a little bit more about that.
Princess in the Paper Bag, I think it.
Okay.
Yeah. Both of us did read that book, and essentially, just so everyone understands, this was a concern brought up by the committee, I guess. Is that?
Yeah, I did see that. I was wondering if I read it, and that not.
Danielle, I think you might, just so everyone can hear.
Not that there was anything, just the ages that it was recommended for it. She was not able to tell me then and there what the lesson would be, how that book would be utilized.
Understood. Okay.
So she said that the possibility would be to just opt in, opt out of the lesson, depending on where that was in the curriculum.
Okay. So I'm sure she'll get back to you on that. Okay. It's essentially, though, just so everyone understands, it's a book about it's kind of going against the norms of your typical, princess book, right? The gives kind of a different perspective for the reader, and what it does is, instead of the damsel in distress and meets the shining, the prince, and they live happily ever after, it's essentially she encounters this dragon, and her clothes get burned off, so her hair's a mess, and her clothes are completely gone, and she has to wear a paper bag. And when she meets the prince, he looks at her and is kind of viewing her in a very superficial way and saying, well, we're not getting married now because of the way you look. So it's kind of a lesson, it's a literary lesson for students, and we'll come up with the actual grade level and the lesson of what it looks like. But from a recovering English teacher, I think it's a great lesson that it's teaching. It's Cinderella in reverse. So, and it, from a literary perspective, and tied to the standards, to the ELA standards, it's well done. That's essentially the story. It's very short, and it's a good lesson.
I had a question. So when Mrs. Gross does come back and respond, I think these are the types of things is important that the full board is made aware of these types of questions, because obviously, everybody, again, different viewpoint on how these things should be addressed. But I would love to kind of get her response and just understand what she comes back with. But
Sure.
I think that's a great story, and I would love my son and my daughter to read it, so thanks.
So again, if we're going to answer everybody's question to the full board, please make sure we answer every question to the full board. And secondary, the conversation in committee was extremely productive, and it was very, very apparent. And this is the kind of prohibiting of asking questions and moving forward that we just spoke about. There's in no way am I saying the book is bad. It is recommended for kindergarten, and it is recommended during a month where we explore gender identity. And I know that is a sensitive topic for our community, and parents have the right to choose what their children are reading. I believe the book belongs. I believe that the lesson belongs. But if I, as a parent, or you as a parent, believe that your kid is not emotionally ready, or your family just doesn't want that, then that should be a choice. And that's why we do bring up the issue of opt-in, opt-out. I am in no way, shape, or form saying we should take the book out as a resource. That is why we just implemented the amazing new library system that we will be utilizing, so parents can read about it and they can decide on their own. So I just want to make that abundantly clear.
I think I think you did, and I kind of interpreted that the first one. I think your questions were more aligned to, I just want to understand the curriculum tie for age appropriateness and how, and if it is.
That was the only talk about books. No book was ever suggested to not be in the curriculum. It was, and even some of them, like, it was accidentally put in one curriculum, and Ms. Gross said, oh, it really shouldn't have been there, good catch, it should be a middle school book. That's what it's slated as, like, and it just happened to be in the early elementary. It just, so, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
All books that were in were kept in. Yeah.
Yep. And then Nurtured Heart was 2024. That was also communicated to the board that same year. And then
President's.
Yeah, the presidential fitness. She said it will continue to remain as an optional resource for PE teachers to utilize with students. Also understanding, and this is the really big part, right? There are students who cannot do that. So we're differentiating for kids who maybe cannot do, I don't know, I remember when I was doing pull-ups, right, for the presidential tests. And so we're catering to all students. We're not requiring it. It is an option, but we also will cater to the special needs, not necessarily in a special education way, although that could be, but even just special physical needs that students.
Yeah. So I would love to have that conversation here, if you don't mind, quickly. We had it in curriculum, and I think it was very productive. I have 3 kids in the district, so I've seen, and they're all at different ages, right? We see throughout their education that children are rewarded. We all saw it even at the graduation for academics, for high achieving. Some kids, they don't achieve academically. I have, 3 kids that achieve at all different levels academically, and one who is extremely gifted in fitness, who maybe is not going to achieve the same, at the same level that they would in the classroom. So a benchmark test to make those children feel recognized and included is something that I would love to explore as a district, whether it be presidential fitness or just something else that awards physical, I don't want to say superiority, but acceleration in physical fitness. Because we do reward academic excellence, typing excellence, artistic excellence. I do feel like there is a little bit of a missing gap for physical excellence, unless you play maybe like a team sport. But a lot of the sports that children play, 2 of the sports that my children play, they're not middle school sports. They'll never achieve on a team here. But I would love for them to feel recognized if they are able to achieve at a standardized physical fitness test. So if that's just something we can explore as a board, even if it's not for this curriculum cycle, but maybe when you speak to your physical education team, just something that we can get these kids to feel good about themselves for, being good at something different than math or reading or English or whatever.
I actually see no reason why not to if we can't. The only, the only word you said that worried me was the word test, because sometimes they may view that if they fail it, they're not going to get. I would rather say, hey, if you're able to, perform the function, you've achieved something toward the presidential certification. And at the end, we can recognize that. I would, that's the only thing I would want to make sure, because I don't want to scare them away. I want to make sure, I want to encourage them.
Sure, like even just a challenge. It doesn't have to be specifically that test. If there's one that allows for more adaptation for children who are not able to physically participate, that's awesome as well. Just something that they can feel recognized.
I'm right with, and I'm right there with you as far as, the difference in our kids. One athletic, one not, one academic, one okay. Any other comments on the curriculum, or can we move on to the next committee? Okay, so we are up to safety and security.
Yes, sir. Safety and security met today, earlier today. Thank you for everybody for getting here early so we can have the meeting today. Mr. Tom Rose, Supervisor of Safety and Security, reported out to the board our readiness for the beginning of the school year, as well as all the summer goals that were up and completed, so that we are safe and secure. I have to report back to you that Mr. Rose is doing an excellent job, and his staff, and should be commended for getting our schools as safe and secure as they can be ready for day one. I'm not going to go over all the goals because they're safety related, but I'll give you some high points. We did have a great discussion on the updated school bus emergency procedures that included the critical response manual. We updated some of those. We had a great, everybody contributed. We had a great conversation on that. In this building here, we have a new portable radio repeater that's up and functioning. Very important to make sure the signals get through when needed on the radios. We have a new camera server at the Marlboro Middle School, which is now up and running, which is very advanced, great server and system. And Mr. Rose made sure that all the updated service contractors and licenses that are safety and security related are all in service. So we have no lapses in any of those licenses or security items for the new year. So we're in great shape. That's what I have.
I just, if you don't mind, I just want to also add that what I always get from these meetings is that there is a great partnership between our school district and our police department.
Yep.
To ensure that there is a continued presence and safety in these buildings and across our district, whether they're on-prem or mobile. Mm-hmm. So I really want to thank Tom and the work he does, and our Marlboro Police Department for being there in view sight, and then when they're not. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Michael, I have two questions. Just two items that I was wondering if we have moved forward on. The first one is the school bus cameras, the armed cameras. We had spoken briefly. Is that conversation still abreast, or we just
that conversation was we decided that after we spoke to the police department, we sat down with the mayor and the police, and it was not feasible at this time.
Okay, thank you. And then,
well, I think also, if I remember correctly, our police chief also said the problem in our district with people passing school buses is not a problem.
Not a problem.
And if it was, he would know. But he said it is not a problem here in Marlboro. He goes, people stop. So that really gave me some pause and comfort.
And the other big thing was, that's what Michael's going to say, and I was going to say, is that our transportation director makes sure that everybody gets off on the right side of the street, not crossing a street to go to your home. So the bus is going to turn around and go the other way if you live on the other side of the street, so you're never crossing in front of a school bus. You're always getting off and going, that's me hitting the microphone. You're always getting off and walking onto the sidewalk.
Which is not necessarily the case for some other school districts that drop off kids in our district.
On the same page.
And then, and then secondly, we're a year in, and I don't expect you to discuss specifics, but has there been any input, I mean, Mr. Balone can answer this, about the new vestibule system, how they're running and everything that was implemented last year? Is it going to be the same as what we see this year?
Nothing's changing that I know of, no.
Nothing has changed.
So the feedback was good, everything, the transition was good?
Yeah, I know there were some improvements that Mr. Rose addressed that I think even came to the board level. So there were minor improvements, but yeah, nothing's changed.
All right. Yeah.
We did some upgrades, but it operates the same way.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Lolansky or security? All right, thank you, everyone. All right, so we're going to move on to financial and business operations matters. Mr. Smith, would you like to read this one? I'm always reluctant.
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, receipt and acceptance of the board secretary report. 2, treasurer's report. 3, transfers. 4, list of bills. 5, travel. 6, harassment, intimidation, bullying, HIB report. 7, acknowledgement of travel dollars spent in the 2025-2026 school year. 8, authorization to accept financing bid. 9, approval of 2026-2027 school year coordinated transportation routes with MOES, sorry if I mispronounced that. Number 10, approval of shared services agreements, MOESC 2026-2027 school year, transportation services. 11, approval of agreement, Summit Speech School. 12, approval of agreement on the Curve LLC. 13, approval of agreement, Graham Behavior Services for BCBA services. 14, approval of agreement, the Speech Tree for speech services. 15, amendment resolution approval of agreement, MJW Physical Therapy LLC, ESY Summer Physical Therapy Services. 16, tuition students for the 2026-2027 school year. 17, donation. 18, state contract purchases. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mr. Lolansky, any discussions on these items?
For number 10, did we cease our agreement with Cold Snack for transportation?
We
still
already have that. It was
It's already
approved
in
at a
place. This is
prior meeting.
additional?
We did.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are the same contract, they're the same as last year, the
Thank
same
you.
routes.
Thank
I
you.
think we did the Colstick one in June.
We did.
Yep.
We did.
Any
These
other-
just don't get done right away because they have to go out to bid and.
Any other questions or discussions on these items?
I just had a question around number 13, the 100,000 for the BCBA services.
Is your mic on?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, just number 13. I'm just curious, so can you just tell me like a little bit more about like what that is? Like, are we just gonna tap into like this company when there's a need for a BCBA in the district? No, okay.
We have a BCBA that's going to be out on leave,
Okay,
so it's very difficult to find a BCBA replacement position. So we're going to be using consulting services for the school year
and it'll
while
be
this
just
employee's
that,
out.
And is it gonna be that one person throughout the year, or is it gonna be different
That I am not
people?
sure of.
Okay,
I just know that we're using this, I think so. I think that Ms. Sturgio has vetted and, you know, she's gone through with the company to make sure it was the appropriate person. So I
Okay.
think it is, but I'm not 100%.
and this is up to 100,000, so it could be less than that,
Yes.
that we could utilize, so.
Correct.
Again, on a need by, as needed basis, basically.
Right,
is
well,
when we
what
would-
what the BCBA that's going to be out on leave would do, this person is going to be filling in and doing.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, great, thank you.
Any other questions on these items? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Okay. Mrs. Belomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Gandhi?
Yes,
Mrs. Jankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lolansky?
Yes.
Dr. Miskowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want
Okay.
to say one more thing, sorry.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Scope again for the donation, so just wanted to mention that. Right, that's part of, yeah, this is part of this. So just wanted to say thank you to them for donating and covering costs for the CBI trips during the 2026-2027 school year. So thank you, Scope.
Great, thank you for doing that. All right, we are up to curriculum matters. Anyone want to volunteer? Okay, thank you, Ms. Jankowski.
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, approval of engineering design curriculum guide 678. 2, approval of library media curriculum guides, K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I think you can just do K through 8.
I was going to do that, but
Go ahead,
some
just
are
do
K
K
to
through
8
8.
and some are, okay.
K through 8.
3, approval of physical education curriculum guides, K to 8. 4, approval of Spanish curriculum guides, 2 through 5, 6 through 8. 5, approval of visual arts curriculum guides, 1 through 8. 6, approval of creative arts curriculum guides, 6 through 8. 7, approval of visual and performing arts dance curriculum guides, 1 through 8. 8, approval of visual and performing arts theater curriculum guide, 1 through 8. 9, approval of visual and performing arts curriculum guide, K. 10, approval of conflict managers curriculum guide, 6 through 8. 11, approval of developmental school counseling curriculum guide, K through 8. 12, approval of music curriculum guide, K through 8. 13, field trip list. 14, district mentoring plan, 26, 27. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Dr. Niskowitz. Any discussions on the items that were just moved? Seeing no discussion, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Lolansky.
Yes.
Dr. Miskowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Belomo.
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero.
Yes.
Mrs. Gandhi.
Yes.
Mrs. Jankowski.
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're up to personnel matters. Ms. Gandhi, would you do that?
Personnel matters, 1, retirement, 2, resignations, 3, rescinded employment offer, 4, employment certificated staff, 5, employment instructional assistants, 6, employment kindergarten basic skills instructional assistant, 7, employment school aides, 8, employment bus driver, 9, employment bus attendant, 10, employment dispatcher, 11, amended salary, non-certificated staff, 12, transfers, certificated staff, 13, transfers, non-certificated staff, 14, reassignment, certificated staff, 15, reassignment and amended salary, non-certificated staff, 16, assistance, after-school activities, 17, stipend, extended school year coordinator, 18, stipend, special services building coordinators, 19, extracurricular activities advisors, 20, curriculum CPR first aid training, 21, curriculum ESL screening, 22, amended child study team and teacher evaluations and IEP meetings, 23, amended 2026 extended school year program, instructional assistant, 24, stipend, continuation of program for provisional teachers, 25, stipend mentor teachers, 26, mentor induction, 27, student observation, 28, student teaching, 29, substitute rates teachers, 30, substitute rates school nurse, 31, substitute rates non-certificated positions, 32, substitute rates bus drivers and bus attendants, 33, substitute teachers, 34, substitute bus drivers, 35, substitute bus attendants, 36, paid medical disability leaves, 37, unpaid leaves of absence, 38, amended resolution leave dates. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Ms. Jankowski. And any discussions on these items? Ms.
I
Jankowski?
have a little change on number 5.
On number 5?
Yep, number 5. The 5th person on the list, Anita Masala.
One second.
Okay, sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Her school is the Early Learning Center, not Marlboro Elementary. And then the only other change on that resolution, the hourly rate for everybody says $24.79. It's actually $24.76. So the dollar amount, the total is correct. There was a little typo. So. What?
Okay.
Yes, as amended. Okay.
I just have a quick question, and I've noticed it, and I always forget to ask. I'm going to ask now. Why are instructional assistants and kindergarten basic skills instructional assistants separated? What's the difference?
So the kindergarten basic skills, the BSI, kindergarten BSI are not full-time. They're not here the whole day. An instructional assistant, they're here for kindergartners, and they're here for, how many hours is it, Chris? Are you looking at?
3.5, I think.
They're not here for the full day. An instructional assistant is in a special ed room for the full day.
Right, they're 6.5.
Okay.
the special ed.
All right, thank you.
I think they're
Well-
3.5.
Other questions or comments on this item?
It's probably 20.
Do you still, Carrie, well, no, Aditi, you read this, so you're moving it as amended
With the changes.
with the changes?
I'm moving it as amended with the changes.
Thank you.
And Carrie, you're second to that? Yes. Okay. Can we have a roll call now?
Yes. Okay, Mrs. Jankowski,
Yes.
Mr. Lolansky,
Yes.
Dr. Miskowitz,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Palomo,
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero,
Yes.
Mrs. Gandhi,
Yes.
and Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are up to liaison reports. I'm not sure how many we'll have, but Freehold Regional High School District, that would be Mr. Hyatt, he's not here. Marlboro Education Foundation, Ms. Gandhi, no report, thank you. Marlboro Township, Mr. Lolansky.
Matthew Friedman 5K, 2 weeks away. The Matthew Friedman 5K will take place this year on Saturday, September 5th, at its new location, Big Brook Park. More information or to register, please visit www.milesformat.org. Please note, drivers should be aware of potential traffic delays in the area surrounding Big Brook Park on September 5th due to the 5K event. The Patriot Day ceremony, Township's annual Patriot Day ceremony, will be held on September 11th at 8:30 a.m. at their 9/11 Memorial, accessed off the recreation parking lot. All are welcome as we honor and remember the 14 families and all those lost in the tragedies of September 11th. This is the 25th anniversary. Marlboro Farmers Market. Farmers Market continues its seasons this Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. More than 30 new and returning vendors are scheduled throughout each week. Marlboro Day will be Sunday, October 18th this year. Sponsor and vendor registrations are now open. And the recreation programs, registration is open for a variety of youth sports and seasonal fall programs. New this year is cheer dance, along with returning favorites like pickleball, magic classes, and snapology, whatever that is. For detailed
What was that?
Snapology.
SNAP, S-N-A-P.
Yes. That's what- And for detailed program and event information, please visit the Marlboro Township website, Recreation Programs page, and that's what I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lolansky. Any questions or comments for Mr. Lolansky? Thank you. Monmouth County School Board Association, no report, thank you. New Jersey School Boards, no report. Oh, we got a very long report today, so. Okay, and scope?
No report.
No report, thank you. CPAC.
I do have a report. Thank you, Robin and Angie. CPAC co-leaders want to thank everyone for participating in our ESY Spirit Week. All the staff and students had a fun time with all the dress-up days. Continue to check the CPAC website and Facebook page for additional resources and free webinars for you to increase your knowledge. Our meeting dates for the school year will also be posted shortly. CPAC co-leaders wish all MTPS students a great first day of school and a wonderful school year.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on CPAC? Thank you for the work you do again. I am remiss because I forgot to stop for a moment and let Mr. Ballone offer some retirement comments. So please.
Just have one. These are retirement comments for Ralph Hopping. The Transportation Department would like to thank Ralph Hopping for 19 years of service as a bus driver. We all wish Ralph a happy retirement, good luck, and good health. Congratulations, Ralph.
Congratulations, and thank you for your 19 years of service in keeping our kids all safe. That is a tremendous service you can offer to us, so thank you. And good luck in your retirement. We are up to old business. Anyone have old business? Yes.
As we move into the new school year, I wanted to check in again on the breakfast program and see the breakfast program and see how that is going, and if any others, how it was implemented at the schools, what the feedback was, as well as check in to see if there's any new not improvements, because it was done really well, but with the lunch program, if anything new is coming to our students, as well as I brought this up with Mrs. Gross, just in our health and nutrition, whether it be things that are displayed at the school or things that are distributed, that we're using the new food pyramid. So I kind of wanted to just check in on those things that we had touched on last year.
So I had a discussion, again, I'll work backwards. I don't know, it just seems easier to do that. So the food pyramid, you know, there was the old food pyramid, right? And what I'll say most of us learned. And then there's the new food pyramid, which is inverted, right? So we teach nutrition. We don't necessarily teach pyramids per se. We're not using either pyramid, but we are teaching nutrition through the standards. And the standards do not necessarily require a food pyramid. So, you know, because there are two schools of thought. Oh, the old one is the way it should be, and the new one's the way it should be. So we're not subscribing to either side. We are teaching nutrition via the standards.
So I don't necessarily see it as a side. That was the food pyramid that was approved by the Department of Health, and I'm not following, because there is food pyramids displayed in schools. They do come home in the kids. You know, if you look at your kids' schoolwork, I've seen my kids come home with that. That's actually what sparked it last year. So why would we not be using the new standard when anything changes, we adapt to the change? So we're going to not adapt to the change of a food pyramid?
So we teach the New Jersey standards, which does not include the pyramid, the new pyramid. So that's why we don't, if it's being sent home with our students, then that needs to be updated. But the new curriculum guides, from what I understand and saw, does not contain it at all.
So we're not following the federal guidance of the new food pyramid. We're taking all food pyramids out of the curriculum.
They don't exist, right? So we're using the New Jersey student learning standards for health. So that's what we're using for nutrition.
Okay.
As far as the breakfast program, there is a slight change for this year. We had an audit come in, right, Mrs. Jelinski, and because last year was our first year in all of our buildings, what they would really like to see in every single building, which last year was a little different. I know at Defino, students purchased their breakfast in the cafeteria. I think they even did it, they ate it quickly in the cafeteria and then moved on to class. In other buildings, they did not sell it in the cafeteria or have students eat it there. So they would like everything, the point of sale, to be in the cafeteria. So that's going to be a uniform change to make sure everybody is consistent. Is there anything else that you can think of?
No, I mean, it's called Breakfast After the Bell is the name of the program. Breakfast After the Bell, and it will be on our website, you know, all the information. The Department of Agriculture is very specific on the guidelines. But, you know, as we see how this goes through the year, there's always the chance it can grow and adapt. So we're going to see how this goes with the move into the cafeterias. In some of the schools, you were able to grab it in the hallways last year. That's not happening anymore. And then it would be put through the system later. Now they have to go through the POS system. So we're working through how that's going to look. As far as the lunch program, I think that they've instituted more fresh fruit. I don't know if that started last year. Yeah, so that's continuing. Oh no, not fresh fruit. So all of that is continuing. I don't know of anything significantly else that changed, Danielle, but
for the breakfast program, was there data as to how many kids participated and what that looks like at each school or just at a district level?
We definitely have it, I just didn't bring it with me.
Okay, yeah.
So
I'm
I
sure.
could definitely share
Yeah,
that,
if you
though.
can, that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I want to go back to your question about the pyramid. So, and I don't know enough about this, but you do, so I, you know, whatever you can sort of do to help enlighten me or the board would help. So, the new standards with the old pyramid and the inverted pyramid, right? I assume that that's also, those guidelines that have to be incorporated into our food programs, our breakfast and lunch. So there is an indirect influence of those programs through the food programs. But I think your question was more about whether or not those pyramids would be also incorporated into our curriculum for nutritional. Is that, did I understand correctly?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
the kids do learn nutrition, and I know in like my child's school, there is a big, there was, I don't know if there is, but there was a big food pyramid, and it was the old standard, which is like 2 years old now, that focuses on carbohydrates instead of.
Was that in the curriculum or within the, was
It was
the
just it was
cafeteria?
a display.
Okay.
So, and then also, they had a worksheet that had come home. I think it was my littlest, I don't remember if it was third grade or second grade, that had the food, no, it had to be third grade, that had a food pyramid on it. So I don't know, it's just a different school of thought, you know, instead of focusing on carbohydrates and saying fats are bad, it's flipping it on its head and saying healthy fats are good and, you know, carbohydrates should be less. So I get it, you know, everybody has a different way to manage their diet, I guess you could say. But, you know, if the research is showing that that's the way, you know, that we should be eating, or at least guidance, and the children are learning about healthy eating habits, which I know we reinforce through Chartwell's, and Chartwell's even said that they do promote healthy eating habits, though we'd want to make sure that they're learning in a way that has been proven to be correct.
Okay, thank you for, the question I guess I would pose is that, you know, are we aware of, or have we heard of any information from the New Jersey DOE as to whether or not they're exploring updating the nutritional curriculum or guidelines based upon the impact it's also having in our food programs based upon the federal guidance? I don't know whether or not we ever get insight until they actually do it.
So what I know that they've done is they focus on more food groups, what's healthy, what's unhealthy, right? Everyone has their, you know, their own body that responds to different things, right? We all, I think, you see all of these diets, right? You have every diet, you know, they talk about eating meat and protein a lot, and then other diets not doing that. Their focus in the standards, which is what we're teaching, are food groups, healthy and unhealthy. When you start putting that into, you know, what should be the pyramid this way or the upside down pyramid, I think we are using a one-size-fits-all approach to, you know, perhaps there are students with dietary restrictions and they, you know, for their body, something is different than another child's body or anyone else. So we are teaching healthy food, you know, food groups and healthy and unhealthy versus this is how much of something that you should be eating. It's a very broad one-size-fits-all approach that the New Jersey Department of Education and the standards don't endorse, and that's just not something that we'll necessarily endorse, because who are we to say how much of something a child should or shouldn't eat?
So when did that change? Because like I said, I know there is food pyramids and they do discuss that. Even Chartwell's has a food pyramid graphic. Actually, maybe, well, I don't want to bring up my phone, but I probably do have it. So I'm just trying to understand the philosophy, and whatever the philosophy is, I guess, right? But there will be no food pyramid discussion and no food pyramid distribution is what you're saying here.
Look, I can't, you know, we have 450 teachers out there. What I can tell you is this: in the standards that we're teaching in our curriculum guides, it does not exist. So if someone has a printout from somewhere, we can certainly bring that to their attention to say it's either outdated or even if they're using the new one. Like anything else, a teacher's actual resource, but what is coming down from us at the district level is there's no food pyramid.
Did you want to add something? Can you put?
I'm sorry. You can, and you had your hand raised, maybe it's about the food pyramid, but I wanted to just ask a question about the breakfast program, but not related to the food pyramid, so we can wrap that up. Like, we could not wrap it up. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. We can continue that before I change the subject.
When we transition, I'll come back to you.
Correct, thank you.
How's that? Okay. Did you have a question on the, comment on the pyramid?
I did. I appreciate what Mr. Ballone said. I think the focus should be more on like the food groups and healthy eating. You know, my kids are vegetarian. So if the school is teaching them that carbs is bad, that's what they eat. And that meat is good, I don't want them to come home and start demanding that. That, you know, it's a religious thing. And I speak for many Indians that actually live in this community that are strict vegetarians. So to teach that, and you know, basically taking away my parental right to parent, you know, to be able to teach them what is good, what's not good. So I think just teaching them healthy eating habits, and I think I'm in agreement, and I appreciate that the school is following that and not teaching the food pyramid. So
I would like to dive deeper into this. Maybe we could take it offline. If this is a resource that we're going to go against guidance, it should be an opt-in, opt-out, like other resources that go against religion or beliefs. And I also believe that if you're teaching food groups, you inadvertently are teaching the food pyramid, because we're not going to walk around and tell our children, eat a lot of candy and a lot of sweets, it's a food group. I mean, it is a food group. So, you know, I do feel passionately about setting healthy standards. And I don't believe that it is, I don't know how to word this, but I don't believe just saying we're going to ignore improvements in research and development because it possibly could reflect that it's the current president or current, you know, director or current administration, let's say, versus the past administration. I think that gets into a really murky territory. And I don't believe I could give you a variety of other topics that this would not occur with, because like this board has said numerous times, we like data, we like statistics, and the data that is being done in the country that we live in is supporting, you know, the eating habits of, you know, this structure based on the research that has been done. So again, I'll take it offline and we can have a further discussion. But I know I've been bringing this up for well over a year now. And, you know, my kids are being educated in this district as well as their peers. And I would like to make sure that they're being educated with the most up-to-date information on what's going to provide the healthiest life for them.
Mr. Ballone, did you not just confirm that the food pyramid is not being taught, correct? It's just eating healthy and healthy habits. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that that's what we're talking about.
I just had a general question. I don't know if anybody knows the answer, but do we know if the food pyramid, the current updated one, is coming from the FDA or the Department of Education? Like, is it more of a, like, I don't know where it's, if it's coming from federally,
I think,
education or
I think
or
we
food.
need some more information about some of this, and I think that would be helpful maybe if we can get some guidance on it. I would just say that in addition to, you know, all of the factors we talk about, the things that play into everyone's choices of food, in, you know, some of them mentioned cultural, religious, medical, economics. I mean, some people just can't afford it. So there's a lot of factors that play into this. So it would be helpful to hear, you know, what we do. And maybe this, I wrote down the word advisory. Maybe this is a great opportunity for us to engage an advisory committee.
And I think the other thing I want to add also is when Chartwell's came here, one of the things that they said is they're putting more, you know, fresh fruits and vegetables on the menu. That, again, goes to like, you know, establishing healthy eating habits, not that they're sitting there and saying, here, eat more meat or eat more vegetables. It's just more things that are just grown in nature, and they're putting that out. So no canned, you know, fruit, none of that stuff. So I think that that's what Chartwell's when they came, that was the whole presentation. That's what it was about.
Okay.
I don't know if the people speaking realize that actually the Chartwell's meals are all balanced based on food groups and macros, and you can actually get the, we did it with the breakfast program actually. It was one option has to meet a certain amount of carbs. There's a certain amount, I mean, it is well balanced through Chartwell's, so that is done. And I just have to add the comment, and then we can wrap this up, that I think it's really righteous that we're going to talk about how different philosophies yield different results when our children walked around in masks for the better half of 2 years, because that was the directive, and we had to follow the directive, and this is what we thought. And we had people that said, that's not healthy, that's not good, that goes against my beliefs, that goes against my freedoms. And we said, well, that's what you have to do, because that's what the directive says. So I do believe it's a very hypocritical statement and a very hypocritical position to say that we're receiving guidance. The guidance says this is the healthiest way to do it, but because of where it's coming from, we're going to just say, we don't really have to follow that guidance. We'll just pick another guidance to follow, or no guidance at all. I actually have never heard of children not learning about nutritional eating and the food pyramid and which foods are, good and bad, and how to balance a diet. So I'll close it there, but I find it to be kind of comical.
Thank you.
I have to say this. I'm sorry. We're not comparing COVID when people were dying with the food pyramid. That's...
People are dying from the food on the food pyramid. Sorry.
Okay. I think we can close this topic out, and I think it's right for some follow-up, so thank you. Any other old business? I have one item for old business, and I apologize to my fellow board members. Last meeting, we had a conversation about board goals. Due to some my personal time, I was not able to sort of do the updates to it based upon the feedback around the table. I promised to get that done for the next meeting, so I apologize to everyone here. New business. Yes. This is, I'm sorry, was this old business or news business?
It can be considered new business.
Okay.
But it's tied to the breakfast program and the lunch program, not. Okay. And maybe Chris, because I don't want to be like a liar, but it's my understanding that when a child is receiving free and reduced breakfast lunch, their trays are set up in a balanced way, but because they're receiving it through that program, they have to take the food. This is my experience and understanding. So let's say, for example, the meal is a sandwich. They can choose like milk or water and an apple and a cheese stick. And they don't like apples. They have to take the food because it's issued through free and reduced lunch, and that's the way that it's tracked.
Everyone that takes a lunch has to take a whole lunch. They don't just, they're not.
Right, so
everyone that takes, what's the word?
A la carte.
Well, there is a la carte, but if you're taking a lunch,
it's
you
not
have.
a la carte.
Right, but
exactly.
Free and reduced lunch doesn't have the option of a la carte, correct? They get their lunch.
Well, yeah,
whether they get an option within that, it's like milk or water. My
Correct.
whole point is
Correct.
like, say, for example, my daughter, like, say we received that, and she's like, I can't eat apples because I have braces and I'm not supposed to chew them and they're not cut up. You have to take it. So therefore, then the apple gets thrown away. So, right.
Like the milk did when I was in high school and didn't
correct.
drink
So there's
it.
like they're really, and it's like an economic driven program, but then we're seeing tons of food being thrown away. Right? And I just think it's really like unfortunate. So anyway, I was just proposing, maybe we think about it, that I just know that other schools, when instead of throwing it away, and we also, some schools you're not allowed to share, so it's not like my daughter can say, you can have my apple, and because she doesn't know if their parents don't want them to have apples. It's healthy, I know, but you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I know school districts come together and they do something with that food. So they have a bin, like, I know like they actually like gather like the fruit and they donate it to a horse farm, and the horses can like eat the apples and things like that. And since Mr. Cohen wanted to do our new pillar for like citizenship, I thought this would be a nice way to kind of bring a school together for citizenship and not wasting food and not making kids feel like, oh, I have to like throw this lunch away. Just something to think about when we were bringing up the new.
I could talk to Mr. Palmieri
Yeah,
to see if
so.
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Palmieri does something like that.
Oh,
I'm just not sure.
And he could,
I'll
and
find
then
out.
we can report, and I apologize if I don't know about it.
We should find out, and then I'd like to sort of just suggest something that you triggered with me, which was maybe teaching our kids, your kids, everyone else's kids, that if they don't want that apple, rather than put it in the garbage can, put it in a separate bin that says good for donation, and whether that donation is to animals or that
Right.
donation is to.
I was told.
Can we
I-
not
I
just-
reached out during the, I reached out when we were
Can they
getting the
just not-
lunches
not take
through,
it?
delivered to our homes, to see if I could collect lunches in the nearby neighborhood, because a lot of us weren't using the snacks and food. And I was told that it can't be donated to a nonprofit, that it's specifically
I'll find
earmarked
out.
for
Maybe-
schools.
Vinny will know, Vinny will know.
But I had a
Yeah, I think he's the
question.
one who
When they
told me
take the
that it
plate,
was-
right, and they're actually being handed the plate, if the kid knows that they're not going to be eating this, can they not just tell the lunch aide,
No.
we don't want,
No,
and they can't
They're
take it
not
away?
allowed. No. That's
Oh,
like
so
the
they
point.
have
They,
to-
they have to walk
You
out with
cannot
it,
leave
even if
that
they're
lunch-
like,
you
I'm
cannot
not
leave
allowed
that
to eat
counter
this
until you
because
take
of
every
racist.
single item.
Yeah.
It's because we're on the federal lunch program.
Right.
Got
If the
it.
district was not part of the
Okay.
federal lunch program, it would
Correct. It's
be
the way
different.
they ensure that if we give out
We will get-
75 apples because 75 children are receiving it, it doesn't look like we're withholding food, correct? Like,
That's-
it just,
Yep.
yeah.
We will definitely, and remember, the federal government is paying for that food, so they want to make
Right.
sure someone's getting it. So. Yeah.
But even if they do like compostable or the animal, like if it's not non-for-profit, but I know
I will
some
I
school
will talk.
districts
I'll ask
do
him.
do that in
Yeah,
a
I'll
way.
find out.
Yeah, perfect.
Can
I
we,
love you so
the
much.
question
Thank
is,
you.
not can they donate it, but can we regift it?
Could we regift it? Yes.
So we'll find out. We'll find out. I do have, anyone else have new business? I have three things that I just want to make mention of. One is, we will not meet again until September 15th, which means 9/11 will have passed. So, Mr. Balone, if you would mind, if you can share with us as a board, what would be done across our district, maybe for 9/11 remembrance for the families and the students in honor of the 25th anniversary, that would be very helpful, just so we can understand or see it. And then I also just want to express, both personally and hopefully on behalf of the board, to those families and members of our community that sacrificed or had experienced a sacrifice as a result of 9/11, to express our comfort and our thoughts to you and your family during this 25th remembrance. That was just one of the items that came to my mind. The second one was, and I think we agreed, we talked about it, not so much agreed. Many of us had an opportunity to attend the town council, where one of our students was recognized for winning the 250 essay. And I would hope that we have an opportunity to invite that student here, so the board has the same opportunity to recognize that student's success. And then the third item I have, which we don't have to have a long conversation about, but just wanted to start thinking about it. Screen time has become a big issue nationally, and everyone's talking about it. And I'm sure in some ways our parents may be thinking about it or talking about it or watching it on the news, right? I don't know if we know, or I don't know if our parents really know, just how much screen time is actually occurring during the course of a day or course of a week in the context of our schools. So the question is, how can we provide more insight to parents so that they understand that it's not a problem here in Marlboro Township Public Schools, or we are paying attention to it so that it is not an excessive amount of time for students. I don't even know what the right number of hours is, but I remember seeing a news report this week with a New Jersey school district that actually is restricting screen time down to, I think they said 2 hours a day. So I don't know whether or not that includes just in-class time, whether that also includes homework time. I'm not sure. But I guess whatever we can do to sort of be ahead of the curve on this with our parents, so that we are being sensitive to the fact that our students should be learning more interactively and a little less on the screen. So that's, and again, like I said, we don't need to discuss it extensively, but I would ask if you can come back and talk to us at a later time about this.
I will absolutely do that. Just on back to the 9/11 25th anniversary, the township also, and I think Denise reached out to all
We
of
all
you.
got invitations.
But the township does a really nice ceremony every year. I've gone to it every year, and you are all invited. Anyone from the town is invited. It's over by the rec center, and they have a really nice memorial there set up. So I'm sure this year might probably be there might be more attendance, being that it is 25 years. But I invite all of you there on behalf of the mayor, because he sent the invitation to me to share it with all of you. So hopefully you received it. And if there's anyone else who would like to attend that, encourage them to attend.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a suggestion. I know for the 250th, we encourage like students to write essays, right? For the 25th anniversary, because obviously we lost a lot of people that lived in Marlboro, I took my kids to see, not the Twin Towers anymore, but like that
Memorial Freedom.
The Freedom Tower.
The Freedom Tower. And one of the things that I saw there, which I was like, maybe it would be nice for us to do something here for that, they have sort of like not a wishing tree, but like a tree where people wrote like really nice messages about, unfortunately, the people that lost their lives, something, and then they kind of tied it to there. I don't know if the mayor would be open to doing something like that, but maybe we could encourage our kids to write something on a card, because obviously they learn about it in school, but they can all write something, and then that would also increase the attendance. Maybe they can come and tie it to the tree there. And it's really just, it would be nice for families that have lost their loved ones to kind of see how the community came together, wrote notes about them. It doesn't have to be to a particular person, but just, you guys are brave souls, or whatever it is. I mean, it was really nice. I could show you a picture of it. But my kids ended up writing something and putting it on there, and I just thought it would be nice to kind of involve
We had
students.
on 9/11, right after the actual event, Pier 94 was opened up as the Family Assistance Center, and there became a wall that got created in which people were continuously leaving notes to their missing loved ones. And the wall kept on growing and growing and growing. And we had to continue to clear more space and put up more wall for this, and it was endless. I've got pictures of it. I know it's preserved somewhere, but it was one of the most emotional things that I experienced, watching that grow and watching those notes and reading some of them when I was down there. It was really hard.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think it's just, I know kids learn about it, but it's different when you learn to you learn empathy and you write something about it. It doesn't have to be, again, not an essay, but just something, and then you go and put it up on the tree. Our community can go look at it, and you see those little messages from children and families. I just think it's something nice to do. Just a thought.
Mr. Cohen, I just wanted to say that at my children's school at Dugan, it's the third year, so immediately following the 9/11 memorial, at 10:30, Officer Drum has helped us in many years past. We recognize all of the heroes among us, so both fire departments, the police department, the EMTs, any parent, friend that serves in any capacity comes to Dugan, and we do a drive-by with the lights, and the kids all stand outside, and then the kids present each first responder with a treat. Last year we did cookies, the year before it was mini bunk cakes, and they make signs, and they wave flags, and they do 2 laps around the school, and then this year there will be a luncheon sent to every single, like the first aid, the fire departments, the police station, from the students and families of Dugan. So that will be starting right after the memorial. They're going to head right over Officer Drum said. So that'll be going on 9/11.
My daughter has done that at your school. Yeah. She's done the ride in the ambulance. She really appreciates it. So thank you. Any other new business?
No, I just would like for Mr. Ballone to think about it when
I love the idea,
and then see what we could do. And then, I mean, I'm happy to even reach out to the mayor's office just as a citizen, not a board member, and recommend that. But just within our schools, if we can do something to get that going.
I think it's a great idea. The logistics of it, when school opens on the 3rd, 9/11 is right around the corner. So for us to do it, that wouldn't be fair to the teachers for us to kind of pull something together there. But it's certainly something we can think about.
Even if it's just voluntary by class or just as a note sent home where parents can work with their kids to write a note. Mm-hmm. And whether or not we put them up on the walls of the gym or someplace else.
I know that I can't speak on behalf of them, but it could be something that the PTOs can help. We
That'd be
do a
great.
letter to veterans every Veterans Day. I know at Dugan, all 600 some odd kids get a card, and they write them out. The PTO collects them back. They just do it during their free period. The teachers are great. They put them in a Ziploc, stick them in the mailbox, and then we take them over to there. So I'm sure that if we kind of coordinated, that would be a...
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, even if it's not such a classroom thing, but it's just a coordinated effort that says, write a note,
Yeah.
in the card.
Index
you know,
card's gonna be handed out on the day of,
I mean-
anybody that comes.
And we could talk about, I have some ideas of how to make, like, what we should be doing, but I do think that it's not just limited to the school, it's more of like getting it done and then putting it out to like where the mayor does like the service or whatever, just having it there so that families that come not just for the service, but beyond that can actually read all of these notes that have come from just not the children in our schools, but the community. I just think it's something nice to do on the 25th.
It's a great
you
unity.
know,
It's
yeah.
almost like the unity chain. Okay. Thank you for suggesting it. Thank you for having this conversation. And for, you know, giving me the chance to sort of inspire people on it. Thank you. Any other new business? We are up to second round of public comments.
Valentina Mendez.
Sorry to keep you so late.
No, it's okay. I'm just going to keep it short and recant. You said you were going to answer my email that I know you didn't get to, so that's totally okay. Just a reminder that back when Mrs. Seward was on the board, she had actually looked into the 9/11 memorial visiting the schools. And so I just wanted to say that I didn't want to forget that because she did some research on it, provided that during the last few months of her time on the board. And so that could be something that you look into again, because that would actually be nice where the kids can come out and see it, so.
Yeah, if you remember, she actually said at that point that, you know, they were so booked up, there was no way in the world we were going to get it here for 9/11, but it may be something we can do in the future. We also had to raise some money to sort of pay for that because it was very
Correct.
expensive.
Right, so
But
just wanted to put that
it
out
would be
there.
great to do something.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to, any other comments, or anyone coming up for public comments?
There's another person.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bashan Agrawal.
Mr. Agarwal.
He left, okay, thank you. Okay, that's all I have.
Ms. Bornstein.
Yes, Robin Bornstein, Marlboro, New Jersey. Actually, I'm winging this because I wasn't actually prepared to say anything, but since the breakfast program came up, I just wanted to touch on it. No, it's not the food pyramid. I think we're all done with that. I just sort of wanted to touch on sort of the way how it's run in the middle school, because my personal opinion is that it's extremely problematic, or at least it was very problematic last year. Drop-off starts at one time, and then the students are allowed into the building at another time. There's about a 10-minute difference. I don't want to give the time frame just in case there's a safety and security issue with that. So the children, if they're dropped off, they're in the building, they're just waiting until they're actually allowed in. Okay, well that time is the same time that homeroom is supposed to be starting. Okay, the homeroom is like 6 minutes. They have to get from whatever point they're let into the building, be it from the bus or from drop off in the front, to their locker, get whatever they need from their locker, and then get to their homeroom. If they're getting the breakfast, they have absolutely no time to legitimately get that breakfast and actually eat it. I have two children in the middle school. Well, I'll have 3 starting in about a week and a half, but last year I had 2. And one is gen ed and one is special ed. Special ed worked a little bit different in self-contained. But my gen ed child who wanted to get breakfast could not because of the time parameters. By the time he would be able to get up into his homeroom, it was almost time to start first period. And he was then told, well, he couldn't eat it. So I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work then. If A, they're being told they have to eat this in the cafeteria, there's 6 minutes. How are they having the ability to do this? Are time frames going to be modified, amended? How is this going to work to allow these children to actually go ahead and eat the breakfast? So I would also be interested in seeing the data on how many children were actually getting the breakfast, because if they couldn't eat it, what was the point in actually getting it? I mean, he would go ahead and tell me he threw it out. What was the point in that? It was a waste of the food, like we were talking with the lunch. that if they had something they didn't want, they would just throw it away. Well, this was something that he wanted to have, but the provision wasn't there to eat it. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly how this is going to work, especially in middle school, since I know how it was supposed to be working last year, whether there's going to be any changes to it this year if they're supposed to be going ahead and eating this in the cafeteria. How are they doing this in 6 minutes? It's impossible. I don't even think that I could get from my car into the building to a locker to chug down food to then get to homeroom or in time. So just trying to see how this is going to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. Motion to close public comments. Ms. Jankowski, seconded. Mr. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, public comment is closed. I think there was extensive conversations tonight about the breakfast program and the lunch program, and I think you raised some very good points. And I've heard some of the concerns associated with time in the past. So we will definitely continue this conversation. It's not going to end today. So thank you for bringing that perspective as well. We are going to be moving now into executive session for about 60 minutes. We will not be coming back out for any public business. We will be discussing matters of attorney-client privilege and personnel matters. So with that, I need a motion to move into exec. Ms. Palomo, I need a second. Ms. Carrero, any discussions? All in favor? Anyone opposed? We are moving into exec. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us tonight.